Friends, if you're looking for real old-school laughs, you're in for a treat because we've got them right here. Flip City Magazine. Remember Mad Magazine? Then it went woke? Well, don't worry. Flip City has no chance of going woke. That's right. 4 times a year, you'll get an actual printed magazine full of jokes, stories, comics, and more, all about today's pop culture, entertainment, and woke politics. Flip City takes terrible entertainment trends we love to hate with hilarious parodies of Lord of the Rings, Stranger Things, The Walking Dead, Star Trek, Hunters, and more. Trust me when I say there is nothing else like Flip City on the market. So subscribe today. It will be delivered in print, or you can even get it digitally if you're one of those wacky Zoomers. Either way, follow our link and sign up today, and if you put in midnight, you get an extra 10% off. Check out Flip City Magazine today. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Midnight's Edge in the Morning. I'm Tom Connors. We have the boss man, Andre, here. How you doing?
Greetings, everyone. I am excellent, and I'm glad to be here with you all and everyone watching.
Glad to have you here. And Culture Casino is in a parade for some reason.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. Hi. Hello.
Are you in Dallas?
I don't know. I'm just here saying hi to
No,
everybody.
not. Paul Chato is also here. He's a Canadian. Don't hold that against him.
I'm here in my Canadian lounging shirt.
Yeah, loungewear.
This is loungewear in Canada. We call it a smoking jacket.
There you
And
go.
I don't mean that by you're smoking. They actually put us over a fire and then rotate us and make us nice and crispy and smoky.
Yeah. Smoked Canadian.
Bacon.
Exactly.
That's where Canadian bacon comes from.
Correct.
Wow.
Do you guys eat so much maple syrup that when you get roasted, it's sweet?
I don't like maple bacon, to tell you the truth.
Neither do I, actually.
I like bacon.
I never understood that when people mix like their sausage and bacon into their maple syrup. I'm like, you fucking savage.
Yeah, and who are those people that put cheese inside of sausages? Like, really?
Inside? The only time you put cheese on a sausage is if you're having a sausage bag.
No, but you can buy sausage with cheese in it.
Never heard of that. I've had like hot dogs and stuff like that. But anyway,
well,
Midnight's Edge Food Talk.
Because we have it in Norway.
Yeah. Midnight's Edge Food Talk brought to you by, let's see, we got Bucky Cat in the house. It's brought to you by Bucky Cat and Stone Racket. There you go.
Especially by Stone Racket.
Yeah, look at that. Holy crap. Let's start there.
$50 super sticker. Thank you, Stone Racket. That is much appreciated.
Yes, indeed.
Really keeping our lights on. So thank you, Stone Racket, the sponsor of today's episode. But there was another super chat there that we didn't quite have the time to read. Can you?
Oh no, we'll get back to it here. But on Stone Rackets, it was a little Shiba dog with fireworks jumping around. Thank you very much for the very generous super sticker, Stone Racket. So let's start back at the top. We've got Hyper Guyver here this morning. How you doing?
Fade in.
Oh, that was a terrible speech.
I'm not done yet.
Put a chick in it. Make her gay.
There you go, sir.
Yeah. There we go. That, of course, is the recurring theme for Disney. I have to say it was perfect timing when that episode came out. Maybe it was the coincidence.
Well, she called me because she was very disturbed about the whole South Park thing. So
yeah, I saw the thumbnail. I look forward to seeing the video with that conversation. So everyone needs to go and check out the conversation between Kathleen Kennedy and Mr. Chato afterwards, or I know I will.
Yeah, no one's called me from Disney in a while. Feige called me once, and then Iger. But
maybe he'll have to call again. We need some solid advice here. But meanwhile, Grimzilla has been a member for 19 months. And he says, "Happy Godzilla Day, everyone! It's his 69th birthday." Oh wow!
Wow. Go, go, go,
Uh,
Godzilla.
Yeah, the show Gi and Kong film and -1 are getting phenomenal reception. Yeah, the trailer for -1 looked amazing. I can't wait for that. It's my most anticipated movie the rest of the year. So that does indeed.
It does look good.
There was a
Yeah,
few
that's
shots
it.
I actually wasn't as impressed with. There was like 2 shots in the trailer that looked really CGI that I'm like, hopefully those aren't done. But other than that, yeah, it looks really good, and maybe even a bit too overly serious. So hopefully it's not too dour.
I think it's going to look amazing. Some of the stuff that I've seen now, out of the 2 things I've seen, make it look like I mean, I'm really looking forward to this. I think we need a serious one and a funny one. This one's definitely oriented around an adult audience. You know,
Yeah, this is like Godzilla's list more so than anything.
yeah, and I think it's going to be good. I'm looking forward to -1. I really am. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're like, we know you would have saved more if you could have Gojira. Thank you. And he goes back to the sea.
Oh, that was the hot dogs. Sorry. Pardon me.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. Oscar Mayer Wieners does it to you every time.
Jonas.
What?
And in the background, we have joining us Mr. Jonas J. Handler.
Hello. Sorry for being late, gentlemen. I was wrapping up something with some of my compatriots, and we too do tend to go on sometimes.
It's been known to happen. It's been known to happen. But yeah, since you are here, we have more super chats, and we are going to get to them all. But for right now, and bringing us into the first topic, I was about to say here. Whiffed, what's your first thought? He has been a member for 6 months and says, "Hey guys, I hope you're having a great morning. Did you hear the new Echo trailer was released?" A great trailer.
I heard it was coming.
Yeah,
yesterday. I should have said something.
The Echo trailer has been released in like the last 15-20 minutes here, and we caught it just before the show. Jonas, did you have a chance to see the Echo trailer to warm up for what's going to be a fairly Marvel and Disney centric show here?
You know, I did hear last night from a frequent Scooper account that it was going to be coming out today, but I wasn't that interested, and things were going on, so I missed it. But we'll have to see how diverse Daredevil does in this trailer, I suppose.
Exactly, but I can tell you what they're doing in the trailer, and I think for those that haven't seen it yet, here's the really long and short of it, and I think that this one is deceptive. It's focused on Kingpin. This is a very Kingpin-centric trailer. We see the flashback to Kingpin and a young Echo, and now we see them today, and really, it's all Kingpin, and it's flashes of Echo here and there. So they're really trying to sell this with Kingpin, and with a dark tone and some shooting, and as Mr. Chato pointed out when we first saw it behind the scenes, even alluding to the Punisher in there, not like in the narrative, but in the text and everything. So they're trying to show
Subliminal.
us dark, brutal, and I think they are completely trying to deceive us. Yeah. And I think that 80% of the Kingpin footage, it was in this trailer. That's my quick reaction.
Is it Vincent D'Onofrio, or is it you
say?
Yeah,
it's Vincent. Of course, it's D'Onofrio.
Okay.
Yeah, of course it is. So it looks good because it has him. But Culture, let's begin with you. You also saw the trailer. What did you think about it?
Well, I've seen it a couple times now. Once with all of you, and I'll say this: I think that we're in for another epic bait and switch. I think a lot of people would say that. I think that there's a reason that they're dropping this all at once on both Hulu and Disney Plus.
Oh, they're doing both? Oh, yeah. Wow.
Yeah,
that's even worse than dropping it all at once on Disney Plus.
Yeah, and I think that's in an effort to artificially like hype it for viewership in the minutes category. And I think since this is essentially going to be so briefly in the public zeitgeist that I think the only takeaway here is that they didn't have the confidence in this. I think we probably saw the best parts of it in the trailer, and it's 6 episodes. Am I right?
I think you might be right. Now, the thing that is most telling about this, as again on the reverse diverse Daredevil, is the lady who got the role. I believe she was emailed, even though she's not an actress, and was told they would like her to audition for the role.
Only she didn't hear that, I heard.
I'm
sorry.
Oh my God.
I don't get the joke.
She's actually deaf in real
Yeah,
life.
she actually is deaf, and she's missing a leg, and also
they got
Native American.
many ESG points.
They made sure that they got the exact person
Yeah.
who fit that description to play the role.
Yeah, well, actually, it's more than that. It's more than that, because someone that was deaf would have been sufficient. They found someone who was an amputee on top of it. But remember, you get like ESG. You're supposed to cast someone who is not white and has all kinds of like neurological issues.
Okay,
and stuff
we now have 1 ESG point. I've just taken out an eye.
Exactly, and I'm pretty sure that when this woman came into the casting, being non-white, ethnic minority, deaf, and an amputee on top of it, I think that they must have been like high-fiving each other within the Marvel offices and decided instantly right away, this character isn't an amputee in the comics, but since this actress is, and we really want to use her for reasons, so we're going to make the character an amputee as well.
So I've got a question. Is Echo a female in the comics? And number 2, First Nations, and number 3, deaf? Hard of hearing.
1 and 3, yes. 2, I'm not so sure. I don't know, to be completely honest.
So she's kind of a daredevil.
But she's at the
Punished.
very least 2 out of those 3. But
2
they
out of
were
3
able
ain't
to go
bad.
for but they were able to go 4 out of 3. So, and that's even better if you're Marvel.
Now I just have to know.
Mm-hmm.
Maya Lopez. So I think she is Native American. She's a Cheyenne, according to Wikipedia, the fount of all.
So that's another
conversational
point.
Knowledge.
Lopez, not a very Cheyenne last name, but there's lots of mixed.
Well, she may not
Parenting.
be pure blood. So
Yeah,
That's right. You got all those things together. Look, honestly, I
the
didn't hate the
checkbox.
Hawkeye series. The Hawkeye series was my favorite of all the series, and it was the only one that I felt like didn't totally snafu the landing. I mean, it wasn't great. The last episode was the worst of all the episodes.
Mhm.
But that being said, it was the only one I didn't either check out ahead of time or totally hate the ending. So I got to give it that. Watching this trailer, I didn't hate it. I didn't hate it. I mean, and that's all because of what Andre said, though. I'm probably getting suckered in by Vincent D'Onofrio.
that's what I'm
Basically.
thinking, because this looks like the Kingpin show, and we know it isn't that.
Yeah, and I mean, sure, and now we're seeing like, well, what is the reason for this? Well, there must be some transition that Kingpin makes between the end of Echo and through this show into Daredevil, because otherwise,
Exactly.
I mean, if
That's
it's that big of a
exactly.
deal, if the show is really as bad as they're boasting or saying that we're hearing or whatever you want to call it, at this point, why are we even seeing it? Why didn't Disney scrap this thing?
Well, and consider this. I mean, they are changing Daredevil Reborn for like the 3rd time. So was it really that necessary to have Echo go at all? And I think maybe that also leans into the fact that they're dropping it all at once.
And they've had no chance to reshoot this at this point.
Yeah, I mean, how would
Well,
you?
I mean, whatever they did at the initial point, they've now
Well,
had
Echo, they have already reshot once or twice. But in terms of Daredevil, yeah, in an ideal world, I would have hoped that they now would have taken the opportunity to scrap Echo completely and just put the Kingpin arc into the rewritten.
That's what I was
Daredevil.
thinking.
Yeah, but it would appear they're not doing that, and as as Script pointed out, even if it may be bad for them in the long run to release some of these series, still going to happen. But again,
I'm getting yelled at in the
trailer-
chat. I can't help it. I didn't hate Hawkeye for one. You guys tell me I hate everything, and now I actually like something for once, and I'm getting yelled at. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay,
Let's
yeah.
do it.
Haley Steinfeld. It always throws me off.
She was the only
Steinfeld.
reason it was likable, right? Like if it wasn't for her, if it was any other actress, I probably would have hated it.
Yeah, it was.
For some reason, she made it likable.
She was charming, and she had a career before any of this. It wasn't forced diversity to try to put her in there and say, in the same cases with Echo, where it's like we don't even know if you can deliver a line. I bet they were counting on the fact that her acting would be silent with the Echo actress, because it would all be in sign language. But,
Echo, I get it. Echo, she's a bat.
Yeah,
Echolocation.
I just I think it
Now I get it.
that last episode where everything gets wrapped up, and you got a little tiny chick beating up Daredevil. I mean, not Daredevil, Kingpin, who's supposed to be a pretty formidable hand-to-hand fighter.
a little one-legged chick on a prosthesis that only works half the time. Let's not forget about that.
Well, let's not forget we're talking about two chicks here, because he got beaten by Kate Bishop, who is Hawkeye. Ray Skywalker, and also by Echo before the end of the series. So
Put
we
another
have
gay diverse woman in it. Make it more fucking lame.
so we
Correct.
have essentially he's just going around getting beaten by everybody. So Hawkeye himself, Clint Barton, is the only person in the superheroes surrounding Kingpin that has not beaten Kingpin.
Kingpin is very hard to beat, and the idea that this Echo strapling can beat him is absurd.
Well, no man can take him down, but again, a woman.
That's right.
Right away.
A woman.
She is no man, said in sign language.
That's right.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, I think that that about sums it up. If this trailer in any way is representative of Echo the series, I think it actually might be good. Unfortunately, I'm smart enough to realize that this is all fake marketing, and probably 80% of Kingpin scenes we have already seen in this trailer. And what we haven't seen in this trailer is everything else that has to do with with Echo herself. And that's what the series is going to be. So I do believe that in terms of truth in advertising, this trailer is probably pretty far away from it.
Did we get Culture's take on it yet?
Yeah, we've been.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure everybody got to chime in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I went first and said that it.
Yeah, but that was almost 15 minutes ago, and my
haven't had my
Alzheimer's
time.
is set in.
Okay, move on.
Okay.
Paul, nobody gives a shit what you think.
I agree. I totally agree.
And also, Jason Webster says for
Go scream in a car.
Australian. Yeah, I pressed the wrong one there, but since it's on screen, Godzilla -1 is returning the franchise to its serious roots, where Godzilla is a sheer force of nature, not to be messed with.
And I'm fine with
and
that, but I
is,
still want to have a little tongue in cheek. Like, I don't want it to get overly serious. Like I said, making the joke Godzilla's list. Like, I want to be able to want to watch it again, right? Like.
Yeah. And Mike and Ayers said for $4.99, I hear Aloqua Cox, who's playing Echo, is playing the dog in the live-action Strange World. Ooh, that's a rough one, because the dog in the live-action Strange World is, as you know, an amputee, because that movie was the animated SJWs in space. Yeah, and Matthew W says has been a member for 24 months and says, I'm glad I watch you guys so I don't have to watch all this terrible Disney Plus programming. And yeah, on that note, Ryan Bannon said for $5 I'm trying to watch Loki season 2, but I have no idea what the fuck is going on. Can somebody explain it, please? Yeah, that's funny, because last Friday I had literally had to have script explained to me. What the hell is going on? What am I watching? So Jonas, can you do Ryan a favor and explain to him, like summarized, the hell is going on in Loki? What is this series really about? What's going on?
I mean, if we want the meta conversation or do we want the literal plot conversation? I'm
No, the
2
literal
episodes.
plot conversation. What's going on? Like, what is happening?
I'm 2 episodes behind, but as I understand it, nothing much has happened in those 2 episodes. Loki and Sylvie, which is the female replacement Loki, who is better at everything and is so disappointed in the male counterpart, broke the universe by killing a version of Kang, who is supposed to be the next Thanos, but is generally a theater kid dancing on a desk. And now they're trying to, quote unquote, fix the multiverse, the sacred timeline, before it gets out of control. Or maybe they want to take over the sacred timeline. And they've brought in Ke Huy Quan, who is magnificent in anything he does. He just reminds me of charm and excellence. And they're just doing nothing, essentially. They're having a pointless procedural as they go from episode to episode and try to pretend like there's stakes at the end. Yeah. Missing 2 episodes. Am I about right?
That's fairly close. Yeah. And Chato and myself have seen the final episodes, but to say what's going on really is that the TVA has this bullshit MacGuffin that's called the Loom, which is a tunnel through which all the timelines go or something like that, so that they can be monitored. And with the multiverse, it's expanding beyond the capabilities of this Loom to manage. And that's why they need to go on a quest to find Kang and everything like that. And if they don't, well, then the entire TVA comes to an end. And apparently, for some reason, that's a bad thing. So yeah, that's the gist of what's going on in the series. Mr. Chato, was that a good summary, or can you better it? And what did you think about this episode?
The main issue is, do you believe in the consequences that they've set up, and how do you feel about them? And I feel nothing. That's really the problem. Is the challenges that they have set up? I don't care about. I mean, I'd rather watch The Wedding Singer than this. It's just a lot of, it's a lot of MacGuffins. Not even the one. They just have endless MacGuffins. It's a lot of arm waving, and this most recent episode, Loki was just telling us over and over again, this is important. Now, okay, now this is important. This is important. Okay, thank you for telling me that this is important. And we have to reassemble all the members of the TVA that have now gone on to normal lives and have no idea what the TVA is. And
yeah, because the TVA doesn't exist anymore.
Correct.
So it seems like Loki is trying to reestablish it.
Right. And his and Mrs. Loki, figures out when, the guy at the record store gets turned into threads, that they, what they need to do? They need to get a whole legion of knitters, and they just need to grab all the threads, stick them into a ball, then like wind them. Then they'd solve it all. But they need to throw a whole bunch of overweight knitters.
I was wondering if you meant by knitters, you meant like kind of okay looking women that are neither ugly nor particularly good looking.
Oh, you thought they're going to be someone like this in this series? Are you optimistic? You,
my wife ran a knitting store for 5 years. There's not a lot of underweight knitters.
Oh, knitters! I thought you said knitters, as in
knitters. Knitters. Anyways, yeah, I'm having a hard time getting emotionally involved with the show. That's the problem.
Yeah, I don't blame you. And this whole episode, I'm going to sum it up for you all now. It was filler. It was a complete filler.
So was the last episode.
It was an episode that was meant for Loki to admit, yeah, you know what? I'm trying to force you into this life that you don't know because I'm lonely and I want friends. But I realize I need to do better, so you can all go home. And then the female Loki comes and says, no, actually, you were right the first time. Well, we all need to be here to try to fix this. And I don't even remember how it ended. It was something stupid.
This isn't the last episode. This isn't the last episode of Loki.
No, it's one episode to go.
One episode. Oh, joy.
One more to go, and so it ends right about the same time that the Marvels begins. So
It
next
was
Friday is
shockingly
gonna be a fun
short.
one.
Yeah, I'm grinding my way through it, and then it ended. I went, "Wow, that's a relief."
Yeah. No, but I wanted it to be good, but it's just this metaphysical Rick and Morty bullshit.
Well,
I have
it's
a better way of explaining this series. I mean, you ask me to tell what's happening. Most of the time, I don't know. They just go from one scene to the next. And I have a really hard time following the narrative. And I'm not even talking about any kind of like subtext or anything like that. I just have a really hard time following the screen story. And I
well,
think that most people would have a hard time summarizing even what the screen story is for you.
can I just throw in some data here? First of all, Disney has said that Loki is the second highest premiere that they have had all year, and this is after Ahsoka and Mando season 3. So they're saying that
This is
season
interesting.
3,
Tom, can you bring up the next story on screen? Because we have some data to go with that.
This one here, Loki one.
Yeah, the one with the ratings.
we're talking about the Nielsen numbers.
Yeah.
I shared them
Yeah.
yesterday. Neither Loki nor Ahsoka were on there.
Yep. They were only
because
on
I just have a feeling that this is going to go nicely. What you were about to say, Jonas. So with that, please carry on.
No,
As much as I bitch about bounding into comics, Hollywood Reporter's worse.
Well, Loki did debut lower than their
With ads,
season 1 premiere, but okay. They
Actually,
debuted
not to interrupt you right away, Jonas, but Culture and I talked about this last night. We argued that their debut was even lower than what they're presenting here, because they're not factoring in the fact that they have almost twice as many subscribers now than they did when Loki first came out, something like that.
and 6 episodes behind it already.
Yeah, it's actually not that extreme. I think it was 20 or 30%. No, I think they have 30% more subscribers and
Well,
fewer.
you figured it was like 50 or 60% less audience.
No, it's the ratio. Yeah,
Sorry, that was where I got that number from.
Yeah, as the ratio of customers that can watch this to the numbers of minutes that were actually used, they've fallen a little over 50% in interest in the show.
Right, and it's a 40% drop. So 60% of the audience from season 1 stuck around to watch the premiere of season 2, and all of those watch minutes that are on Nielsen that are included in that 60% of the original audience would include people who binge watched the first 6 episodes in preparation for the drop of episode 1 of season 2.
Yeah, as a ratio of like people who actually tuned into this to the number of available customers in comparison to the previous, it's ridiculous. Nobody's interested in this show. Or as a percentage, not a ratio, as a percentage of people that didn't, and that's quite telling. So you're actually saying, okay, we gained a bunch of customers, but they weren't interested in filling in the gaps on the show. It could also be argued that maybe it was just the new customers that got invested in this show after thinking that the first season. I don't know, but all I know is this. Fewer people showed up to see this, and they tried they tried to point it at another thing that got released. Do you remember what that was? Jonas?
Are you talking about Ahsoka?
Ahsoka, yeah, right. They're trying to point as how like Ahsoka and Loki kind of cannibalized each other's audiences.
Yes.
How does that work when neither one of them showed up on Nielsen?
Well, they only showed up on the originals chart, and Ahsoka is. They were right at about the same number of watch minutes. It's the biggest thing on Disney Plus, which is that is not saying much at all, other than Bluey, which continues to perform for them. So,
yeah, I mean, you're looking
not
at
on the top 10 streaming shows, that's for sure.
You're looking at a complete lack of interest in the show, and I mean here it is. There you go.
Yep. I'll also point out that at one point, Tom Hiddleston, they were pointing out how the MCU has a Tom Hiddleston problem in that Loki is the most interesting character in the MCU. We're talking about 2011, so about 12 years ago. And now they're missing RDJ, or are they? That's a big question anymore these days. And they have completely lost interest in Loki. So the brand decay is very strong here with Marvel.
Yeah, because
What's
that
a
is
cocoa melon? Sorry, go
because
ahead,
that-
Andre.
because that is the really big issue here. That as it is right now in this moment, Loki is their power player. And when Loki is also sinking by what, a third compared to season 1 at the very least.
Mhm.
That again only goes to show the atrophied audience interest, doesn't it?
I mean, Tom, you asked, and I think you may know, but I'm going to say it out loud anyways. Cocomelon is a series of YouTube videos of cartoon animated and not really that well cartoon animated children singing along to nursery rhymes that they put on Netflix. And that, let's say it's not a great creative endeavor, and it is murdering Marvel every week.
Sounds like brainwashing material.
Yep, kids love it though.
Well, duh, it's washing their brains into loving it. No, but like I see here is Suits and Grey's Anatomy are still very, 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 very popular. I don't know how anybody wanted to watch Haunted Mansion. I tried to watch that shit. I even cranked up my brightness and my contrast. I could not see what was going on in the movie.
I know quite a few people who like that film.
Yeah,
I've heard it was good, but I just couldn't watch it. Like physically could not watch it. Like I'm just like, I can't see what's going on, so I shut it off.
And usually when a big movie premieres on Disney Plus, you're looking at more like 1.5 billion. So I don't want to be too cruel to Disney, as we often tend to do. We make a lot of money being cruel to Disney, but that is a pretty low premiere for Haunted Mansion at that rate.
Well, the movie flopped in theaters as well, so this one you can stick your fork in it, which is questionable whether or not it deserves it. Again, I genuinely like that movie.
And then Elemental is the only other thing that showed up besides Bluey on there, and of course, Bluey is produced by BBC.
Yeah, Australia, and then the BBC is the controlling entity for Bluey, and they're not making any new episodes of Bluey for at least another year. So.
Not looking good for Disney in that respect.
Loki does look good, but
yeah.
And the first episode this year, I went, are they kind of going Dirk Gently, holistic detective, and adding a little bit more humor into it? And they didn't do it, which I think would have been a tough shift anyway. It would have, the whole series would have been made more sense if it was like Dirk Gently's and just had some fun with it. Doing all this time travel nonsense and trying to be serious about it, you just can't sustain that for the amount of time that these two series have given it. Like, okay, really? I mean, time travel on its own, we all know, is horrific. But nah, I don't think they managed to make it work.
I mean, frankly, I think it's the poison pill that's killing the Marvel universe. The multiverse and time travel has killed any concept of stakes.
But it kills everything. It's the hardest, dumbest thing to do. There's only a handful of shows that have managed to make that work in any entertaining way. Obviously, Back to the Future, and there was Fringe, I think.
Fringe, yeah, I loved Fringe.
Yeah, Fringe did it well, but it had that kind of time tunnel feel to it. But it's the toughest thing to do, and now that it's been abused to the point of no return, I think Loki, it was a mistake to try to make that work. I can kind of see where they thought they were going to have a lot of fun with the TVA, and they did kind of, sort of. I mean, look who they hired to be Loki's compadre. He's a comedian, right? I mean, Owen is a funny guy. So there's supposed to be fun in there, but they couldn't quite figure out what the split was between the stakes, the time travel stakes, and having Owen Wilson having fun and eating pie. So it's a very confused show. I kind of see what they tried to do. I feel badly for them.
Right. That decision between that Wes Anderson aesthetic.
Yes.
of that boring bureaucracy, 1970s.
Brazil,
high-tech.
Gilliam's Brazil.
Yeah, and then the fact that this is supposed to be the end of all universes.
Right, and then you've got Kang in there, who's
Oof.
not serious. Like, I don't quite understand his shtick. And then you've got what's her fungus, Evanescence, who is like the absolute worst character in it. The assistant to Kang, what was her name?
Oh, Renslayer. Yeah.
Renslayer. What a
Gugu Umbata Ra. Her name.
Oh,
is
and
more
then she's
interesting
not
than her
even in
character.
this episode. How do you maintain any kind of antagonist integrity by not having your baddie in every episode?
Well, that goes to illustrate Marvel's larger problems, doesn't it? So let us move into that, because this week was another week of hell for Disney. In fact, I would go so far as to say it was the helliest of weeks of hell for Disney so far, because this was the week where the entertainment media complex turned on Marvel. If you go to any article right now, and they're all over the world, you have seed articles from that main piece in the Hollywood Reporter. Like, not every person out there obviously reads the Hollywood Reporter, but entertainment journalists around the world do, which means that now you have articles everywhere declaring the MCU dead and in crisis. Of course, very, very few will go around to explaining why. And we will, of course, be breaking down some of the highlights of this article that came out just a couple of days ago. But Jonas, what's your initial thoughts on the media now finally catching up to what some others in this circle have been saying for several years?
I think that Victoria Alonso, before she signed an NDA and everyone was talking about breach of contract and all that, maybe spilled the beans somewhere. But if we're pointing to that Variety article there, I wouldn't be surprised if there's some people within Marvel that have gotten tired of what is going on within Marvel. Obviously, they've had a unionization. There's so much going on there, and Kevin Feige even had this shining new book that he essentially ghost wrote. He probably didn't write it himself, write a single word himself, but had 3 bloggers put down the paper.
Kevin Feige knows how to write.
The glorious story of how Kevin Feige has never done anything wrong in his entire life. I'd say that this is backlash for Kevin Feige having a sparkling reputation when maybe he needs to take a little bit more blame for what's going on over there at Marvel right now.
There is one thing that really strikes me about this week in particular. 1 week ago, we were discussing the South Park episode where Kathleen Kennedy involuntarily went viral in the animated clip that's going to destroy her legacy forever afterwards. This is going to be like the trademark line associated with her, even though she never actually said it. Put a chick in it, make her gay, and make it lame. This is her school of filmmaking. And also, they were criticizing the whole multiverse concept. Beyond that, Marvel weren't mentioned by a word in.
I'm working on a T-shirt right now, actually.
Oh, nice, cool. But yeah, the really big issue here, then, of course, is Marvel. Marvel was the saving grace for Disney. I mean, we've heard, Jonas, you have heard this too, that the priority for Marvel for Disney is fixing Marvel. They know that it's too late for Star Wars in a sense. They'll see what they can do with it. But the first priority is saving Marvel.
Yes.
But is it too late now? Because this very week was when the industry trade turned on them and did the article, Marvel in Crisis. I mean, Disney and Disney's board and Bob Iger must have freaked the fuck out when they saw that.
I think that,
pardon my French.
you know, there might be some 4D chess here. If this is something where Kevin Feige is using the crisis to take the reins and, you know, and say, okay, give me everything, open up the checkbook, let me get
But
those
he already
OG
had
Avengers
everything.
back.
He already had the checkbook. I mean, that's the problem here. The one who was preventing him was Ike Perlmutter. Ever since then, under Feige, he's had all the blank checks that he needed under the condition that he keeps pumping projects out, and he's done that. And I mean, look at some of the costs associated with it. In this Variety article, we learned that She-Hulk was $25 million per episode. Lack of money ain't the problem here.
Which obviously the Star Wars fans came out in droves talking about, are you kidding me? If Obi-Wan Kenobi cost less than $100 million, why in the world did She-Hulk cost $25 million an episode? Let me clarify what I'm saying so I don't sound like I'm reversing with the 4D chess comment. I think that once something like this comes out, they don't need to let a crisis go to waste. When OG Avengers started trending on Twitter at the mere mention that maybe they're thinking about bringing RDJ or Robert Downey Jr. back. Sorry, I don't want to be insufferable. I think that shows two things. It's an indictment on the current content, which they are already obviously workshopping. This article specifically talks about the fact that they were all meeting in September to try to figure out how to fix the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I wonder who they had at that meeting. If it is current Marvel staff, then I don't think that they have the perspective to understand that their push for diversity above all else might have been what has hurt them over the last phase. I guess it's 2 phases now. I think that Marvel has the most salvageable studio right now because Walt Disney Animation doesn't seem to have what it takes anymore. Seeing the clips from Wish, it is a pale shadow of what they used to be. Pixar is even promising. They've got Pete Docter, who runs Pixar, out there trying to do some kind of damage control, saying that they've strayed too far. And they've obviously pushed their next movie out at least a year. And Inside Out 2 sounds like it is reversing course on all of the things they said about the original. I don't want to go too deep into that, but it sounds like it's a shameless cash grab on what was a artistic movie is now going to be a franchise film for them. So shame on them for that. Star Wars is in shambles. Nobody watched Ahsoka. Ahsoka's finale had even lower viewership than Andor, and no one disagrees that Andor was a complete failure for Lucasfilm. The next
so we
thing
know that now it's worse than Andor.
Yes, it's verifiable. It had 100 million less viewers than the finale of Andor by the time the season finished.
That's unbelievable. Wow.
So everything is in shambles, and Marvel is the closest thing to making money because they can say, oh, do you recognize this guy over here? We promise it's the same guy. We promise you it's going to feel like the old ones. And it's just, it's cargo cult. They're trying to say, if we wave around these rods, maybe the airplane will land. I think that they need a little trickery until they get the quality in order, which they've admitted in investor calls that that's what they're doing with their animated features. They want to trick you into being reminded of their good stuff until they can actually get some good stuff, which who knows if they ever will again.
Look at the latest trailer drop for, the Marvels.
I don't. Are you talking about the 8-hour live stream of Cats that they just did?
No. Although that was glorious, but just prior to that, they dropped a new trailer that gave us all of Endgame again at the beginning.
See, I was thinking about the even more recent one where the little Pakistani girl with the superpowers all of a sudden decided to learn some ninja moves because they need those.
Iman Vellani is cute as a button, and it turns out that she can act. I mean, this is a person who'd never acted before. Where does that sound familiar to anybody? And just happened to be a super fan of the character. And so, she got the gig through an interesting method there in Canada. And but she turns out to actually have some acting chops and have a lovely personality. And just
this was her first gig.
She's great, and I have no problem with her personally. I just think when you have characters that have superpowers who have never been fighters before, they're supposed to be thoroughly domestic in that it's some high school student. All of a sudden, having them walking on the walls in order to do ninja moves against aliens, it's kind of strains the narrative a little bit.
Yeah, like I said, I've the Marvels is going to be its own complete failure. But I was even more fascinated by the cat stream yesterday. I thought, wow, interesting. I guess there was a second level to it that was like a cat adoption or something.
Well, yes, the cat lounge out in
You wouldn't
Los
know
Angeles.
That's true.
Yeah. Also, Pro caught some screenshots of let's say some interesting political statements related to what's going on in the Middle East right now that were being put in the chat. So people were being banned for saying negative things about Marvel, but not being banned for that other stuff.
Yeah, well, there Hollywood haven't quite decided which side to be on. That may be part of the problem. So,
well, they're trying to compete in the oppression Olympics. I mean, you had the daughter of King, Martin Luther King, attacking Amy Schumer. So, it was,
hey, now she is the biggest comedian of all time. Now, be careful, their culture.
I mean, well, she came out.
There's a Netflix special and everything.
No, didn't you hear she said that? Evidently.
What does Bernice King care about?
She's the most successful comedian of all time, she said.
Well, Amy Schumer basically was saying, well, Dr. King would, not have, whatever, just kind of, comparing the attack by one side on the other side and that sneak attack mode. And then got corrected. I mean, they're right now on every level attacking each other. Mm-hmm. It's insanity. I mean, I don't believe that civilized people should descend to that point. You can have a civil disagreement, but in Hollywood, they're not civil. It's all smash and destroy in order to, climb another rung on the ladder. So it is what it is. I mean, that's how the Me Too movement came about,
So I'll say we got 5 days until the earnings call. We'll be doing a stream on Tuesday on That Part Place, going through the current state of the Walt Disney Company, and then we'll get the big update from Bob and Valiant on what in the world is going on over there on the 8th. And I'm looking forward to seeing what is done in the press between now and then, because there is so much Disney Company news right now that we are struggling to cover. Even though Pro releases 3 videos a day and I release 2 on That Part Place with a lot of help, we're struggling to cover all of the things that are going wrong with the Walt Disney Company right now.
Well, we have a video coming out on it. That article came down. That has so much in it that, I mean, you can only just scratch the surface of the things that are in that article to discuss. Mm-hmm. And there's been some pushback already on the article. I don't know if we want to go to that.
Oh, actually, we do. Let us take a deep dive into some of the highlights of that article and the pushback that has come against it, because you are, of course, referring to Blade. At once thought to star Mr. Ali. But then we learned from this article that he was frustrated because at one point the project devolved to the point where he was the 4th lead. So the 4th most important character would be number 4 in the credit. Well, probably number 1 in credits, but in screen time and story, he was number 4. And the story was going to be about women and women's life lessons, which, of course, both was shocking and appalling and unbelievable all at the same time. But it just fits so right well in with Tom. Now's a good time to play that meme from Kathy Kennedy.
Oh, you mean this one here?
Put a chick in it, make her gay.
Yeah, exactly. Because that's really what they were doing with Blade. But then there was some pushback, wasn't it? Do we have that, Tom?
I don't have the thing up here, but the toast guy.
Can we get some toast? And also, I think My Time to Shine.
And he backed him up. But yeah, they were trying to claim the entire thing was bullshit.
Yeah. But Tom, can you be a little bit more specific for those that haven't seen it? Who were they referencing and what was said?
I was about to. They were basically claiming the entire Variety article was bullshit. Everything in it. And I had a problem with that because they used one writer who wrote for Blade before the strike, we don't know when, who claims he never saw, and he hedged like a gardener, I'll tell you what, in his tweet. He said that he had never seen anything like that in anything that he had worked on. But he doesn't know they could have changed it since then, basically, in so many words. I'm paraphrasing.
Yeah.
Now, they retweeted that, claiming the entire article was bullshit. I said, well, considering most of the stuff that they've already said in there is verifiable, like Nia DaCosta leaving and all that other stuff, that really doesn't make it sound like it's bullshit to me. Not only that, this fits in with their MO, right? I mean, and I was thinking back to when I was doing the reporting, I believe it was in 2018, when they first dropped the news of a Blade coming out, and just days before Marasha Ali was announced at that big event to be playing the part, they were talking to Wesley Snipes, and there was a breakdown of communication between both groups. And I happened to be talking to somebody who would have been one of the writers had Wesley Snipes come on. And at that time, I was taking it that they were trying to have him play the Whistler role. But maybe I was misinterpreting that they were trying to put him into a Whistler style role. And that would make sense if they were piling on the women. Because that's what I couldn't figure out is, well, because my friend kept saying, well, they know it's going to be a Blade daughter story. And Wesley didn't have a problem with that. But if you add a few more girls to the mix, maybe he did. So it wouldn't surprise me if Disney hadn't had designs on doing this from the start.
So it follows, of course, the trend of what's going on at Marvel. So,
exactly.
About Can We Get Some Toast and My Time to Shine Hello, if you follow those accounts closely and you look at the kind of things they say, they are very pro Marvel and they're very proud of what Marvel has done. They are not a anti-establishment scooping account. And I'm not saying you have to be anti-establishment to be a scooper, but I would not be surprised if they are because I'm just going to point out, you never know when you're following an anonymous face on the internet. I'm fully aware of what I'm saying when I say this. You never know who they are controlled by. And when they have that much access on that frequent of a basis, you cannot trust that they are not, in fact, when they're saying positive things about the company, that they are maybe working for the company. Well, they obviously are working for the company, but maybe they're also controlled by the company. My Time to Shine Hello and Can We Get Some Toast are...
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there.
No, they are very positive about the output of Marvel, and I think that they believe that Marvel is doing a good job with what they've produced.
It's funny because that's what I said yesterday. Is I think they believe what they are saying, but looks like the individual who posted that took their post down. The writer, I forgot the writer's name, but it's gone.
I will say this: I do like the answer that this writer,
Mike Starbury,
this never happened. He worked on a draft, singular. Someone else wrote the other one. Also, he said he personally didn't see it. That's not the same as it.
This is almost weird because this is almost like me would be talking to this guy, and then it keeps going on because they're like, "You didn't read the tweet." He's like, "Yeah, I must have missed the part in the quote where he said he saw the drafts, except I didn't." Well, Script Doctor did point out that he would have seen any drafts prior to him working on that, but after that he wouldn't know. And basically that's what Mike Starbury, who is this writer, basically had said in his tweet, was that they could have changed that afterwards at least. But that doesn't mean that he isn't half-ass lying himself because he wants to work for Disney again. We got to keep that shit in mind. And he totally deleted his account. Not only did he delete the tweet, he deleted his account.
Well, that means that he must have gotten a really nasty call from his agent, or from Marvel, or from his agent on Marvel's behalf. Either way, that must have given some serious blowback. Even though he probably meant to defend Marvel there, I don't think it worked out the way that they planned. And maybe there is some kind of 4D chess going on, but really, I don't see how there could be, Jonas, because we get all these bad news from about Marvel right now, and it's the worst possible timing, because now the finale of Loki is coming out to the buzz of no one is watching this, because that's the headlines today, and the Marvels next week is coming with the buzz. No one cares about this. Even Marvel doesn't believe in it. And they just want the whole thing done with. That's kind of like the buzz that's going into this thing. This is a flop. Only question is how big a flop is it going to be. I don't see Kevin Feige having anything to win on that narrative, and he basically had all control anyway. The only thing he didn't control was like the sheer volume of output, but that is something that can be addressed. If anything, I'm curious who gains from this, because I just think it's like really funny timing. We get South Park this week, and that just gets everyone into the idea Disney equals put a chick in it and make her gay, and nowhere have we seen that as much as in Lucasfilm and in Marvel. And now, just days later, the Hollywood Reporter comes and basically declares Marvel in a state of complete and total crisis. I mean, I can see the likes of Nelson Peltz is clapping and twisting his mustache and everything like that, because this is the only one that gains from this are those who are against Team Iger. I mean, for Peltz, I mean, this couldn't have worked out better had he planned it.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he did.
I'm curious at the behind-the-scenes machinations here, because for this,
the only thing that would have been a happy
Park
accident is South Park, basically, Andre.
Then this news story right here, and then the investor earnings call next week. I mean, that's a pretty perfect syncing of events. Just really dominate one news cycle, and the moment one news cycle is over, you instantly have something for the next. That's awfully strategic timing.
Before Jonas goes, because I do want to hear his take on this, because I agree. Everything but South Park, I think was a happy accident. Everything else I think was planned by Nelson Peltz himself via Perlmutter. So, Culture, you have to leave. What's your take real quick, and then we'll jump back to Jonas.
Well, again, I'm going to remind everybody, as I have the last couple of days, that all three of the major trades outside of the fourth one, the Wrap, which is just a propaganda company, are all owned by Penske Media. They all kind of have stories that are companions to each other that, you know, go into further detail on the Variety article.
This is their cover story, basically. Yeah,
exactly. And if they were still a magazine, this would be front and center. And it would be.
Oh, it is the cover of their magazine, from my understanding.
Understand? I mean, if print was a real thing still, that people actually, you know, took the time to read. But it's one of those things where there's so much truth here that it dilutes just how important each of the events and situations are. It's kind of like the news cycle that we've been under, you know, politically around the world, in that there's so much information that we're not paying attention to the fact that there's a lot of things not being said, or things that are missing, or lots of truths that are absent. And I think that this actually is a bigger problem than even all of the elements that are pointed out here. We can't keep up with all the stories that are coming out of this just one big story. And I would say that you definitely have Peltz or somebody else, a player that's involved in this. And it could have been something that's been planned for a while. I think all of your instincts from everybody on this panel are correct. This picture is telling, but everything's so far headed so far downhill here so quickly that they have no choice but to go back to the OG characters. And I don't think that was just floated for no reason. I think that they're in that point, as Jonas described, that they're pretty desperate.
Now, what you're referring to is that rumor going around that they're in talks with RDJ and ScarJo, yeah. And I don't see that happening either.
And well, she still has movie deals with them, so I'm not. You know, I think they're. You know,
I don't know.
We'll have to see. I mean, no matter what, RDJ's contract has a pretty big escalator clause in it from movie to movie. And, you know, I know ScarJo did too. And I think everybody, I mean, RDJ's contract's the best of everybody's. It's kind of like the Tom Cruise contract thing. But I have a feeling that this is the tip of an iceberg that you know, we haven't even begun to.
Oh, it's just the tip.
Yeah. So, but I do have to step out. Thanks for having me, everybody.
And Kelly Kioki wants to know if you're going to be at the Wisconsin meetup. I should be there, depending on if I can afford it. But yeah,
I wish I could, but unfortunately, I have other travel arrangements that are around an event that I can't miss.
And you're not taking your milking machines with you this time.
I'm gonna go.
Oh my God, the cock. Oh my God, the cock. Oh my God.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Check out today's Friday post flight. I do have a guest on there. It's Drunk 3PO.
Yeah, nice.
Ooh,
Yeah,
so maybe some more revelations.
Yeah, I imagine there's going to be some spicy questions in the chat, so that might be a fun one to get into. And on that note, I just want to say thanks to Six for doing everything wonderfully in the background, and thank you all for having me. Have a great day. Wonderful weekend.
See you, Culture.
So so
Bye,
Jonas, back to you. Do you think that Peltz and Perlmutter might be behind this? Do you think this is all a coordinated effort, or do you think this is just all a happy?
Can I jump in for that?
Yep, please do.
Because Jonas can say more stuff, but I've said nothing. I've got lots of words left in my brain. You don't need to have a coordinated effort to get this kind of stuff out. What you need are individuals who are currying favor on their own.
Okay.
That was not as many words as I thought you were going to say.
Yeah, I was waiting for more words.
No, I'm trying to keep
bigger ones. You act
stuff.
like you use bigger words all the time most of the time.
Currying favor is pretty good.
That's pretty big, but
so there would be consequences if it turned out that there was some kind of collusion. I mean, Variety is supposed to be a record of note, but yeah, I mean, you've got people who are being put forward because they want to again send a message that is going to be palatable to specific parties and unpalatable to others. You don't need to have a finger on the weigh scale to have this kind of stuff happen.
It is pretty juicy. The only thing that I see that it speaks to is that Variety does not want to do Disney any favors right now with this. And I think Variety has tended towards being more critical of Disney than other outlets.
Well, you also get to the point where you've done Disney, let's say Disney, so many favors, and you're just tired of the blowback.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how long can you, go down that road, right? How many gift baskets can you accept?
I would imagine that this article has driven more traffic to Variety than anything that they've had in the last 2 months.
It's a good article.
It also makes me wonder what was left out and if they're going to follow it up.
Well, my understanding is this is an extension of the recent expose we had on Marvel a couple weeks back. And credit goes to Tatiana Siegel. She's the one who put this out. And all those write-ups you're seeing right now, they all come from this article right here. Mm-hmm. The whole thing about She-Hulk being $25 million an episode, bringing back the originals, all this stuff behind the scenes with the stupid show that we just talked about, the Marvels, all that business, all that's from this here. So yeah, I see where Paul's coming from. Like, they're in such bad shape that you don't need a collect. Like, I've even said that they're just getting all this bad press now because they can't pay him off anymore. You know what I mean? Like, they can't buy their love anymore. So at this point, they're like, fuck it, they're weak. Or I'm curious, Jonas, do you think maybe Perlmutter might be behind all this?
Well, I mean, it's a growing list of people that are no longer in the good graces of Marvel and have been spurned by them. Of course, Perlmutter is so hacked off that he's put all of his shares behind Nelson Peltz, maybe $1.5 billion worth of shares, which is fascinating to think that maybe Peltz was charming, or maybe he just called his friend Ike Perlmutter and said, "Hey, can I have your proxies, please?" And that they just went for it. Or Victoria Alonso, or any Victoria Alonso loyalists. Alan Fine seems to be rather insulted by Kevin Feige's new book. A lot of this stuff appears to be someone who is still with the company, because there are things that are referencing September, or things that have happened since September, or the idea that right now they're trying to get the initiative to get the OG Avengers back. That obviously has to come from someone in the know within the company right now. So we can speculate all day long about who it is, but I would say that the internal struggle within Marvel is so good for us as YouTube people. One, it gets the word out. Two, it weakens the idea of this weird culture warrior stance that Disney is taking. And three, it diminishes them so much in the eyes of the public that they have to reconsider what they're doing, which the OG Avengers idea, that is obviously them reconsidering what they're doing. Just don't put them in. Don't make Black Widow. Don't put her in there and then make her lame and gay.
But that was their plan A.
They were gonna do that with Black Widow and bring in the other Black Widow as well and do the same.
Well, maybe have them do it. Yeah. Have some great romantic scene between them.
They've run out of ideas. That Black Widow movie was not one to try to break cultural norms. It was they didn't even get the special effects right on that one. They tried to go after the Miramax guy and make their big political statement about women being abused by men in that, and they took all the teeth out of that messaging in order to make it please people, and they ended up making a movie that is so forgettable. The best thing to come out of it is David Harbour as Red Guardian, and even that wasn't very good.
But surely you must have enjoyed their incredibly progressive Taskmaster, who was made a woman in the reshoots, despite the man filming him filming the stunts.
Yeah, yes, a dude as a stuntman, and then they take off the mask, and it's a silent lady, which that's great that they can destroy two characters at once with that one. Dreykov's daughter, so they have Dreykov's daughter as important to Black Widow's backstory, and also Taskmaster, who is widely considered to be amazing, and instead it's some dude in a biker helmet that when he takes it off, he's a mute woman.
Yeah, that was a waste of character, and I like Taskmaster in the comics.
Mm-hmm. Even Sony is doing a better job with Taskmaster right now. If you see how he's handled in the Spider-Man games,
oh, he's there. Oh, I had no idea.
Yeah, and he's very difficult to beat. He's a bit of a. I mean, he's not a high level villain, but he's at least intimidating on some level. He can take on Spider-Man when Spider-Man can take out Rhino, but you really have to kind of know what you're doing to take out Taskmaster in the game.
Well, I know we're losing you in a few minutes here, Jonas, so I want to grab some of these super chats that you may be able to add some insight to. Nightwish fan says, how pissed do you think Lucas is that everyone lost their crap that he went to 4 million an episode for Star Wars? So he basically wanted to spend that much on that Star Wars Underworld show. Only over a decade later, Disney would blow 25 million per episode on She-Hulk. Well, and that's kind of one thing we learned in the article, right? Like that they spent a bunch of money on the She-Hulk show, shot the whole show, then realized that they needed to go back and fix some things and put some things and basically redo the whole first episode.
I have the answer to this. Those 25 million per episode with inflation. Thank you, Biden. That equals 2 to 4 million from just a few years ago.
All's kidding aside, though, to me, it sounds like they're doing no real pre-production or planning over there at Marvel, which we're learning more and more of all the time. So does this even surprise you, or do you think Lucas would think it's a bit crazy that they're spending that much on a She-Hulk show when all he wanted to spend was a couple $1 million an episode for Star Wars?
I think that there are so many things for George Lucas to be offended by about what Disney is doing right now that this is probably low on the list. But it did occur to me while he was working on his Star Wars series and talking about how the cost constraints would never work out, that now we're in the age of streaming and it could have been done. We could have had a George Lucas series if they had played ball. Those scripts are probably still property of Lucasfilm, if I had to guess. So they could do it. They could say, hey guys, and I don't mean to remind you all because we do know that Disney does pay attention here. There are George Lucas approved scripts somewhere in your vault.
No, they don't exist. They didn't have books. They didn't have comics. I don't know what you're talking about, Jonas. This is a misconception. Just get past it. No, I agree with you, man. Like at this point, I think he's just laughing at it. Like, I mean, you got to get past that point where you're just like, where you just hit like, fuck it. It serves them right phase. Like you can't even really just get that emotional about it, I suppose, anymore.
Well,
one
and
way or the
let's
other.
just point out that if that Obi-Wan figure of 90 million an episode, which I'm not sure if I believe that yet, I'd like to kick the tires on that a little bit. That means $15 million per episode since it was 6 episodes. That would still be more than this. So I imagine he could probably figure out how to do lots of amazing things with
And
that.
I'll tell you what, Andre, you all called me a little nuts when I used to bring this up, but I've heard a lot of people in our circles and other places now starting to discuss this idea that since Nelson Peltz has the controlling interest in Perlmutter shares now, all it would take would be somebody like George Lucas for him to cause some major disturbances in the Force.
Yeah.
What did I say? What did I say? Go ahead.
Is win over enough other shareholders.
And George Lucas is somebody who has enough shares that could really make a big difference. And that's what I was saying before, is if somebody with a big bunch of shares like George Lucas or Apple and somebody else got together, this could cause a problem. And the words hostile takeover have been starting to come up, and people told me I was crazy to think such things.
Imagine if we actually end up with a scenario where Michael Eisner throws his hat in the ring, and all of a sudden they do have
shit,
a CEO
that would
option
change the game
with entertainment experience.
Sorry, Jonas, go ahead.
No, that's there's a lot of list. There's a list of small shareholders with lots of shares, and they have to get past that. I think 65% of Disney is held by institutional investors now.
Is Eisner still alive?
Yeah, he's BoJack Horseman was produced by his company as well.
Didn't they just ask him recently what he felt about all this Disney stuff too, and he just kind of gave
I'm sure he gets asked all the time. When Bob Iger came back, he said something to the effect of "Good luck, Bob" or something like that on Twitter, and a Twitter handle he barely uses for. I mean, it's kind of typical of a non-social media engaged man of his age. He'll use it to congratulate a sports team or brag about a small achievement and then leave it alone, which is probably the healthy relationship.
Sorry, I was gonna say he pops up at like sports games and stuff. I've seen him here and there, but
yeah, he's still doing well with the things that he's covering. I imagine he's enjoying his semi-retirement.
Yeah. Well, he just struck a deal with a Bazooka Gum business, it looks like.
Oh yeah. He did. What a strange company to.
Well, it's funny because I've been covering them because of the whole Topps cards thing. I'm gonna get back to that, but yeah, interesting. Okay, yeah, because I was trying to say, I swear he had said something recently about these guys, but I'm not finding the quote here. Because I know they asked him a little, not like recently, but like a couple months back. Maybe it was even during the Chapek era. They asked him about some of the Disney business. And I was trying to find the quote, but I can't find it here. But anyway, no, I think it could get interesting. It could get very interesting.
I think considering Eisner's former second act, if you want to call it that, his second act just wasn't preceded by another CEO coming in there. He would need someone in there assisting him, and that person probably doesn't need to be Bob Iger. So,
yeah, Jason Webster says the best series on D+ are the K-dramas Revenant, Dr. Romantic 3, and Moving. If it wasn't for them, Disney Plus would be Disney minus. Well, are they really even Disney considering they're imported? Like, I mean, they're probably fine series, Jason. I'm not saying they're not, but I mean, if they're K-dramas, that means that Disney just bought them and imported them.
And I think they're adding, if they haven't already added dubs of Moving on there, they're going to do that soon. I don't actually know the series. I just know I saw the article saying that they're trying to put more into that. So,
well, what's funny about that, and this is kind of sad, really, Jason, that you brought this up, that Disney, if this is all they really have right now, I don't know what the ratings are on these shows, but a lot of it is they're going away from what they normally would do, and they're just importing stuff just like Netflix and the rest of the gang are. It's pretty sad. But I'm glad you found something to like. Then we've got Super Mastermind who says, Disney is broke, now known to all. Might go broke. Will they buy ads? No, maybe they never will. So no need to kiss their rear anymore. And this is kind of going off of what I was saying about they don't have the money to bribe these guys, basically, in so many words anymore. The paid for puff pieces, as we've reported on in the past. And that, that's part of the reason why some of these stories are probably getting through. And could very well be.
They've got to come up with the at least $8.6 billion. It's going to be more than 8.6.
Oh, yes. You want to talk about that real quick since you're here before you take off?
Sure, if you want to.
Mikey broke this down for us yesterday because this is my quick understanding of this, and I'm sure Andre can explain it even more eloquently than I could. This $8.6 billion you're seeing in the press, that don't mean jack shit. That's just Disney saying that, yeah, we're probably going to have to pay at least that much.
Yeah.
They
yeah,
don't know yet.
They want the number in investors' minds to be 8.6 billion because they won't be scared of 8.6 billion if they know that that is the figure. And if they're saying it's 8.6 billion and then they're thinking about what's the difference between that and the final number, that works better for them. I've got a source more on the Comcast side that says this is just gamesmanship on Iger's part. This is nowhere near the final number. Obviously, there's these comments that came through the Wall Street Journal. Brian Roberts thinks that Comcast said that Hulu, is more like 60 or 70 billion dollars. Now, that's obviously a little bit of gamesmanship on his part as well. So 23 billion might be on the high side. I think that is on the high side. I've heard Culture say he thinks it's about 13 billion. My guess is 15 billion, but who knows at this point? It's going to be I think it's going to be well above 8.6 billion. If the valuation of either of these banks is above 30.5 billion, the 30.25 billion, then it's going to trigger that third investment bank. So this might be a while, but they wanted some kind of answer out there for the November 8th earnings call so that people aren't asking Bob Iger to guess on the call.
See, and that's what Mikey was presenting. He did a really great breakdown of it last night. So I do suggest you guys check it out over on Midnight's Edge After Dark. He hopped in the show last night and helped us go through all that. And yeah, that was my understanding too, is it could go much higher than that. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if it's at least double that, what they have to pay. And the way you're making it sound, it might even be triple that. So it would be interesting to see how this pans out for him. Because you know what I found out, Andre, in the Interium, they dropped a Haunting in Venice at the exact same time on Hulu.
Oh yeah, that's right. I did see that pop up the other day.
Why? I do not know.
It seems like they do not care at all about Fox at this point. They seem to be resigning that too. We just bought it for Star Wars. We just bought it for the.
Did you watch
Marvel
Wednesday's
rights.
show, Jonas? Because Andre and I were talking about that film and how badly Disney has snafu'd it, and it has managed to barely squeak out a breaking even at the box office, despite Disney not doing anything to help it.
Is
and then
it
they
good?
go and do this to it. It is better than I thought it was going to be. It's probably the best of the Poirot. Did I say it right this time, Andre? Poirot films.
Better. Poirot, not Perot.
Poirot.
There
it's
you
closer.
go.
It's
We're going to turn you into a Belgian soon.
Well, they got Kenneth Branagh directing it. These are the kind of films that if you follow the argument that the audience is trained to like superhero films, that they need to train the audience to get used to well-made, smaller stakes, less CGI, entertaining, better written.
And that's just it. They managed to bring the budget down by a third for this one by shooting on
I
digital
don't
and
know
other
what
things. Yeah.
people's reaction was to the first Thor, but I enjoyed Branagh's Shakespearean take on it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and there's a lot of
it was really refreshing because of, well, who knows Shakespeare better than Branagh, right?
Yeah, and I think there's also some of the cinematography of that film. Kenneth Branagh is a more visual director than a lot of people give him credit for.
He's a stilted director. He doesn't do a lot of
with these Agatha Christie things, he's doing a lot of moving around actually, and he even went a little bit more nuts with the Venice one because I think he got a little more experimental because this would be to my understanding the first time he's ever shot in digital. Because Branagh was always one who stuck to film. He even shot Death on the Nile, and that's I think one of the reasons why it was so expensive. He shot that in 70 millimeter IMAX, the whole thing.
Oh wow!
So this time he shot it in 6K RE and whatever the other cameras they use. It looks good, and he's actually moving the camera around a lot in this movie. And Andre, you saw it, so you know what I'm talking about.
Oh, absolutely! I enjoyed it.
Well, the thing that I'm trying to say with Branagh being a more visual director is he favors extravagant production design.
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
Lavish, I think is the word you're probably.
And I would have been happy to keep Thor as a Shakespearean style story.
And
Honestly,
lost
they
a
should
lot-
bring Branagh back for the 5th film, Paul, if you ask my opinion.
Yeah,
at this point.
I think that would be. I think I loved the seriousness of it. It really was the battle of the gods. But again, I don't know what its popularity was. It had kind of mixed reviews, but I really enjoyed it.
People liked the first one. It was just the Dark World was the one, basically.
Yep, it was too glowering, and then of course now Kevin Feige is complaining in his book that they brought Joss Whedon in to add all those Loki scenes that, of course, everyone hated.
I would say that those Loki scenes were the best part of that movie.
Right.
And I'll get back to that. Let's just say that we have one big video coming on that very book that I'm breaking. I think you're going to get a kick out of that video. Or what say you, Tom?
No, I haven't even had a chance to review the rest of it myself yet because I got to finish it up hopefully today if we can.
It's a long read, especially when you realize that it's
and I think this is
so is the video.
I was gonna say, I think this is just the first part of God knows how many, because that's the thing. We're still working on the other MCU stuff too. So unless you found a way to combine it, Andre, I don't even know yet. But like, yeah, this is all gonna be when it rains, it pours kind of things, because we had like no news for the longest time and things were just so dry because of the strikes. And then now all of a sudden we get this huge news dump about everything all at once. And
there's no way that's a coincidence.
And you also have to remember that all these magazines that we make fun of shilling for certain studios and things, at some point, they also understand that shareholders of these companies are reading their magazines. So it can't be the Globe or Enquirer all the time. I mean, at some point, they've got to provide some kind of responsible reportage, because people are buying and selling shares based on an aggregate, not just one magazine or one advisor, but the aggregate news of any kind of any single property. So I think this is what we're seeing right now, is they're reacting to the financial situation of these companies and trying to be somewhat responsible about it.
I think there's a part of that, but they can only do that when it's no longer obvious, because they are there first and foremost to be a studio mouthpiece, not to provide information for the stock market and for any traders. I mean, they will trust that those people have other guys. That's not among their responsibilities. However, they are a studio mouthpiece, and that's why I'm thinking that this is not coincidental at all. We know this. When they want to get word and a story out there, if you are highly enough produced, if you are at like the C-suite level, you can phone someone in Penske Media and get the story you need out there, framed most of the time the way that you want it. And when we get this kind of hit piece on Marvel, on Disney, which is a company that's usually are the ones sending the instructions and who are not on the receiving end of a negative headline, when that suddenly happens, that only tells me that someone else has instructed that this story is to come out, especially when you see all of the detailed information. Someone knows. I'm thinking Perlmutter. I was like, he's at that level where, and he would have that information that he could present to them.
Oh yeah.
The only reason that I would think that it might not be Perlmutter is I know that there is some kind of special arrangement right now with Perlmutter that I can maybe talk about offline with you. That I don't think it's Perlmutter's the direct source, but I think someone favorable to Perlmutter.
Oh, it doesn't have to be him, but basically someone from Team Perlmutter, not
which is my point
personally. Yeah.
The one thing that's a mystery to me is that Hollywood in general right now is a mess. They could probably write a very similar expose on DC,
which they have.
To some extent, they already have.
Yeah, and Paramount's an absolute mess.
Yeah, Paramount's the one for some reason getting off light. But that's a whole nother conversation to be had here. But I like Chaos Sonic's question here because it kind of goes along with the conversation we're having very well. Who gains from this? Nelson Peltz gets some gains, and Ike Perlmutter gets vindicated. I think that's kind of where I'm coming from here too. And you may be right. Perlmutter may not be behind this, but if anybody knows where the skeletons are in the closet for the past 20 years, especially when it comes to Marvel, it's him.
Yeah, and also where the Blade script with the 4 women are buried. That's also him.
Exactly. Yeah. So, and I know we're losing you, Jonas, and I hate to let you go because there's so many great questions here from the chat. Like this one, speaking of Blade, Garfield's Bizarre Adventure says, the only life lessons I want in Blade movie are the best ways to kill vampires.
Yep.
Absolutely absurd to regulate the titular character to a sidekick. I agree.
I mean, essentially, and I Blade is essentially a Shaft film where instead of Shaft fighting white people, he's fighting vampires. And also Shaft is a vampire. So you know what was missing from that film? A lot of feminine energy. You know, that's
Right.
Obviously what people were missing.
Well, and I brought this up last night on Mr. H's channel, I think it was. Like, why are they even bothering making this so complicated? Blade shouldn't even be part of the MCU. First of all, it should be its own thing. Second of all, why aren't they Judge Dredding this thing? Like, even to the point where you could literally set the whole movie in one building, like a building in a city that's taken over by vampires. Do this movie for $20-30 million. Get the guys from John Wick to do the stunts. People would just eat it up.
Well, it sounds like they've lowered the budget to $100 million, which is almost a step in the right direction.
For what? What do you need $100 million to make a Blade movie for?
To set it outside and green screen everything away.
In a desert? Like J.J. Abrams. But anyway, I hate to lose you, Jonas, but we always love when we get a chance to talk to you here. Is there anything going on that you want to plug before you head out the door?
No, I kind of talked about it earlier, but we'll have a That Park Place live stream going, a health check on the Disney company the day before the earnings call, and then of course I'll be involved in Valiant's got the Warner Brothers earnings call in the morning on the 8th. That's Wednesday, and then of course the Disney earnings call that afternoon. It's going to be a barn burner. I thought things would have died down by this point, but Nelson Peltz did us a favor. I gotta say, things were going downhill, and now it's a fight. It's not a decline. It's a fight. So I really love being on Midnight's Edge, and I love talking with you guys. I'm very much looking forward to your long video talking about this Variety article. You guys are the best. And Paul, I'd love to have that conversation we've been putting off for so long. One of these days soon. Thank you so much.
I can tell you where babies come from, Jonas. It's real easy.
Well,
and you don't want to know from Paul.
Is it Dino DNA?
Yeah. Yes.
All right, guys. Talk to you later.
Bingo.
And, bingo. All right. Talk to you later. Bye.
Take care, brother. All right. We got so many super chats here to get to. You guys have been very generous. Thank you so much for being patient. We don't get a lot of time. Oh, and Tennille fired one in just as Jonas left. Sorry about that, Tennille. But we'll try to get this answered for you. I can probably send it to him in the background.
Yeah. Meanwhile, just so everyone else here is Tennille89.
Yeah.
Said for $5. Jonas, Critical Drinker, suggested that the variety piece was to take some heat off of KK and at her behest. Any merit, or is that probably just bunk? We have another studio executive here. Does that sound like something
good question
that the studio would do? Like, hey, you know what? Here we have a brand that is completely, totally losing, and everyone is blaming this one executive, taking the heat off of the rest of us. Let us put some really shit spin on our biggest asset, the one we rely on the most, just before an almost $300 million movie is coming out, just to relieve this executive we don't really like anyway. Does that sound plausible to you, Mr. Chato?
No, I think we're giving the machinery behind these magazines a bit too much credit.
I think you're actually giving the studio too much credit to protect Kathleen Kennedy.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I have not heard exactly the drinker's words. I'm not saying anything here, but the way that it is phrased in this super chat, the way it's phrased with this particular wording, there is no merit to it, and it's just bunk. Tom, any thoughts on that?
No, yeah, that's again, like I haven't heard the actual take, so I can't. Again, I agree with you on that. Like just the way it's worded here, I could see where somebody could draw that conclusion, but at the end of the day, I mean, would I put it past KK to do it herself? No, I would not. But that would be a huge, like, you want to talk, if she were to get caught doing that to try and draw some kind of attention away from her, that would really cause some problems inside of the halls of Disney. But at the same time, the way this article is, it's a cover story. This thing has been in the works for a little while.
Yeah.
So she
We need to keep
obviously,
that in mind.
I mean, she obviously has some kind of management around her, and I don't know whether she has a publicist. That
Oh,
I
she'll
don't know.
guarantee you she does.
No, I know, but I haven't heard who it might be. Finding out who that person is and finding out the kind of connections that they have would be instrumental in digging up whether this would be true
It's
or not. In
probably
terms
the
of,
same publicist that Iger uses. I
maybe.
forget her name right now.
Maybe. I mean, again, then you would
Mm.
figure out what their modus operandi is from past occurrences.
The other people I'm hearing, oh, go ahead. Sorry. I thought you were done, Paul. Like I said, the other people I'm hearing from where some of these leaks might be coming from are actually the special effects people. Because they're the ones who are the most fucked over right now by this whole thing.
Yeah, Disney / Marvel / Lucasfilm is just getting their asses handed to them right now.
And I don't mean all of these leaks, but a lot of these. And it would make some sense for some of them, especially the She-Hulk one. Because that is a lot of that stuff is stuff we've already heard from other artists where they were bitching about the exact. And that's where I called into question the whole, like, My Time to Shine and the toast thing. And I think it's funny that the original writer deleted his tweet now, because that was the only thing they were kind of grasping to, is to try and claim that this article was bullshit. And at the end of the day, I'm not trying to say they're shills. They're coming off as shilly. They may very well believe the stuff they're reporting, but I believe this article. I believe almost every goddamn thing in it, because it matches up so well with all the shit we've heard for years.
It sounded pretty good. The one note that I would leave with everyone is we've heard nothing but reshooting everything on the DC side, Paramount side, especially the Disney Cavalcade side. And what's funny is that it seems that none of the properties that have been released have benefited from that extra expenditure. And I think the lesson is just release it the way it is, because it hasn't worked ever. Why bother?
Yeah.
Like, how much worse is it going to be? At least you'll be less in the hole.
Right.
The reshooting has not worked.
Well, and I was saying that earlier, is they're basically treating pre-production and shooting like previs and
right.
Like, it's like, what are you doing here? Like, but this is stuff that should be planned out before you even start shooting.
And this is what I mentioned, what I talked about the other day, is that when you write a script and you get it to the best of its in the best condition that you possibly can, and you've got this vision of how it's going to turn out, and then it gets shot, it either gets elevated to another level because of accidents or whatever, or the competence of the director and the acting, or it turns out the way you anticipated and you move on. But when you've got no script to work with and you really don't know how this all connects together, I don't know how you make a production that way. Maybe I'm just too organized. I'm too.
Well, I've never seen this before in the history of Hollywood. Marvel is the first time I've ever seen this kind of
scrapbooking idea.
Scrapbook. Yeah, that's the best way to probably describe it, Paul. Scrapbook filmmaking or show making, because they really aren't putting a show together the way you normally would, or a movie together the way you normally would. They're making it in post-production. It's like, that's not how you make a movie or a show. You can't wait until you're done and go, yeah, well, let's change this. Like, you've had CGI artists working a month on that shot, right? And that's where I think a lot of this is coming from, the CGI side of things, because that's what they're complaining about, is that these guys don't know what they want up front. They get this stuff and then they're like, well, let's change it. It's like, what do you mean change it? Right? Like, this is it, right? This is your final product. It reminds me of that scene in Spinal Tap. I know Andre's going to be left out here for a moment, but when the lady brings in the Stonehenge thing and they're like, well, this looks great. Now, once you get it to spec, she's like, what do you mean to spec? Like, this is it. Like,
you put down inches, but it was supposed to be feet. Let's see.
Yeah, we're not going to go rebuild this thing.
Yeah.
And that's basically what they're doing, is they're telling these artists and filmmakers to go rebuild this. And I'm not surprised Nia DaCosta took off during post-production, because either A, they are telling her to change a bunch of shit, B, she was just sitting there and being useless, and
Well,
just said,
it
fuck
also
it.
depends on what it is they're reshooting. So if you've got a dialogue scene, if you get 3 minutes a day on a feature film in just a dialogue scene, you're lucky. Okay, that's a good day, right? So people out there might not realize just how these movies go. So 3 minutes is very,
Right.
very good. Then let's say you're shooting an action sequence. It could take you a week, 2 weeks to shoot a minute worth of footage for some kind of massive action part, and then on top of that you have to do the CGI. So movies, especially the kind that Marvel are making, are expensive, and the decisions that need to be made at the beginning just to be able to hold costs are crucial, because it to have the wherewithal to reshoot another minute worth of stuff and then put production back another 2 weeks just for that. And just in comparison, TV show will do 5 to 10 minutes in a day, and that is insane.
Did you see Nia DaCosta's like, she had talked in some interviews in relation to this whole thing, and she had left mid post-production of the Marvels.
Right.
Okay. And she basically said in her comments, I'm paraphrasing, but she was like, "Oh, that was quite an adventure, and all that stuff." But if you read between the lines, she's basically saying she couldn't get out of there soon enough, and she'll never go back. That's kind of what she was saying. Well, I was gathering from it, not to like put words in her mouth, but clearly that's what she was doing, because she took off to London to go work on this movie with Tessa Thompson. And the reason I brought it up is because I guess this caused a bit of a rumble within the office, because I couldn't believe she left mid post production. But I'm like, I can, because look at what happened to what's his face over on Ant-Man. Who's the director there? I keep forgetting his name. Peyton Reed. He had the movie basically taken away from him in post production and reconfigured, and he basically said in so many words that wasn't his movie. Yeah, he's like, that wasn't the movie I made, basically, in so many words.
But that's not untypical.
No, and sometimes these directors are basically work for hire. You're at the whim of whatever they want to do. But again, it just goes back to, if you had this shit planned out to begin with, you wouldn't be having to make your movie in post-production, was what I was trying to say.
And studios have been putting this pressure on directors for years. I think I mentioned the director of The Big Clock, who was a European director. I can't remember his name. The movie with Ray Milland, fantastic movie. And the studio said, no, we have final say and cut. And he said, no, I do. And they went, well, no, this is Hollywood, you don't. And so he shot a 5-minute opening that couldn't be cut, and then he shot every single 1-shot, 2-shot without coverage. They had no choice but to edit it together the way he shot.
There's some directors who knew how to do that.
Oh no, but this guy is good, and it's a great movie, The Big Clock. It was updated a long time ago with Kevin Costner, called No Way Out, and even that was okay. That's how good The Big Clock was, that the remake they did was good enough. So
wow.
Yeah, so that's how this director gave the studio the finger, right?
Yeah. Well, let's go back to the top of the super chats here. We got Walt Man here, who sent us in before the show, it looks like, and said, I know we already knew about this, but the fact that former HBO staffer admitted to creating and using fake accounts to play Defender for a show is still props to give, even saying it was a dumb idea. Let's talk about this for a moment. So
Sure.
what Walt Man is talking about, this is a story that kind of came and went over the last 2 days, and I think the fact that it went is more alarming than anything. Casey Blois, who's the head of HBO, he's only been the head now for a couple of years, from my understanding, admitted now to this Rolling Stone expose that came out about him creating fake accounts and troll accounts to go after TV critics that were saying bad things about their show. Now, this actually goes into a tweet that Gina Carano put up surprisingly last night as well. So are you aware of this, Paul? Yep. Do you know about this whole gig? Because not only that, Casey come out and admitted it. He's like, yeah, I did it.
He
During
created
COVID,
a bunch of accounts. It wasn't even bot accounts, according to the article. He made the accounts.
Yeah, no, it was him. It was him using.
Yeah, so I don't call those bots. Those aren't automated. Those aren't automated accounts. So
yeah, no. It was him under another name that personally decided, oh, so you criticized my show? Oh, you motherfucker, you're going to get it now. So
Now, what
basically
I
what
didn't get
happened.
from the article was which shows he was defending. Because HBO was doing good shows. Like what shows needed this?
Well,
that
not
were defending?
exclusively good shows. I mean, the critics
Probably everything
typically
post
loved the
Game of
last
Thrones,
episodes
yeah.
of Game of Thrones. Yeah, and that was on his watch.
Is he still with HBO?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he ain't gonna go nowhere. That's kind of the funny part of this whole thing. He ain't gonna get fired over this shit.
Yeah, that's not a fightable offense. He
And
was
you wanna know
defending the
why?
series.
And Gina will tell us why. And as we were talking about last night, it's funny because I'm starting to wonder if Gina isn't listening to us on Midnight Edge After Dark and stuff. Because this is basically a lot of what we were saying, not verbatim like the Pauly one, but or not even that one wasn't verbatim, but it was really funny that she brought up a lot of the same points. But this is it. I'll read it for you here real quick. She said, do you think that this behavior of creating bots was exclusive to HBO Max, or that maybe other studios do it as well? And this is what we're saying. Like, he just got caught. Everybody does this shit probably.
Oh, yeah.
In 2016, Bob Iger said Disney was basically inches away from buying Twitter, but pulled out of the deal at the last minute, saying they did a little more research and said this about Twitter users. We, at that point, estimated with some of Twitter's help that substantial portion, not a majority, were not real. What do you think that
I'm on Twitter and I'm not real?
Well, no, we know you're fake as fuck.
Yeah, I am.
What do you think that the substantial portion of fake users grew to from 2016 to before Elon Musk took over in 2022? How big did the bot armies get? Who were the bot armies created by and to do what? Why buy Twitter and deal with the headaches when you can create armies of bots and control the narrative for much, much less money and energy?
Exactly. Very
It does
good
you're
point.
promoting for you without making it look like you are promoting yourself. And remember when we've said things like this and some people are like, oh, you're just crazy and you're nuts. You know, but then again, Gina's saying it, they'll probably say the same thing, sadly. Look, it's popular on all these accounts, strangely like by a bunch of accounts with no names. It must be good. And she's right. Sometimes you check, and I even get these bot accounts coming in on some of these things, and you can totally tell right away when they're bot accounts. It's real easy.
Well, I'll tell you something. Trey and Matt must have bot accounts because my somewhat semi-negative review of their Pandaverse episode, I have been hammered by people who
honestly
just slagging me.
You know what? They don't need bots to do that because they have real hardcore fans that come at you for that.
They've got their own flying monkeys. It's
exactly.
Well, that episode has sparked a whole nother debate because you have a problem here, and I'm wondering if there shouldn't be a follow-up to the video, Andre, because there's a lot of people who are like, oh, the fan dumb menace don't even see the own that this is, or all those YouTube critics don't even see the own this is. It's like, yeah, but you guys aren't seeing the other side of this. You're completely ignoring the fact that the alternate version of Kathleen Kennedy was a Cartman, because they're trying to use. Oh, you guys don't realize they're using Cartman.
I derailed that. We should finish this. We finished.
But
I just mentioned that.
Yeah, but it's true. And then the point being, though, is that Stan and Kyle are the actual characters you should be listening to. They represent the general public. That was my whole
forgot,
point.
and I blew a joke. Not blew a joke. I'm actually really mad that I didn't come up with Kathleen Kenny and then have her killed at the end.
I think that would have been too much, though. I think they would have gotten a little too much.
But I didn't mention it. I should have. Like, I'm so mad.
Maybe.
Kathleen Kenny. Wow. Anyway. How obvious is that? Oh,
she killed Star Wars. You bitch.
Yeah. Anyway.
But what if it was used for something much more sinister? These damn critical YouTubers have too many followers. They're gaining traction. Let's censor them on top of sending in the fake bot armies, just enough to get the yes men and useful idiots on board and rolling. That leads to firing a person who thinks differently because they can't control their voice. Need a reason to fire her? Get this hashtag trending. Say she said something anti-Semitic when she isn't at all. Twist her words, and hey, as long as it's in the headlines, no one will ask any questions. It must be true. I actually told them all in an email and over the phone about these bot armies and how they start the negative narrative, and then the young kids would join in, not realizing they're being manipulated And then websites and small news jump on board to be cool with the kids. And before you know it, you're trending and the Hollywood media devours it. I told him I believed that this was happening to me. I manipulated a manipulated mob being used every day to spread propaganda to protect the most corrupt. They didn't need to buy Twitter. They just needed to buy the narrative. Go ahead.
And again, the joke on all of this is a small coterie of interested parties read Variety and Hollywood Reporter, and we're part of a matrix and a enclosed bubble of techno weenies and pop culturists and things like that. Even the people who are online who are interested in car repair videos are not watching our videos. So we're a subset of the subset of we have an influence within our own group, which it could be considerable. I mean, I think a positive reaction to something will add bodies or bumps in seats, but not the number that I think the Hollywood, the Kennedys and everybody out there might think. I mean, we don't have a lot of power.
You may not think
and
so.
no.
I was going to say, go ahead, Andre. You and I are probably going to the same place.
Probably yes and no. Do we have over all the masses those that are on TikTok and just watch like whatever comes up in their feed, right? No, we don't. As you said, and you are, of course, entirely right about this. The ones who watch our shows and those of Nerdrotic, Geeks and Gamers, all of us guys, are the hardcore fans of the hardcore fans. But here's like the thing, even though they're not that many in the big scheme of things, they're everywhere. And they are going to be the opinion leaders when it comes to entertainment in their group of friends. In every like group of friends, there's going to be like one slightly more informed about pop culture and stuff like that. And all the others in that group are going to be like, hey, why does Marvel suck now? You know this stuff. Well, here's why. It's going to reference what he saw from one of our channels.
Mm-hmm.
That is how we are influential. Not because every single person watches our channel, but because of those that do spread the word through many, many more. And also, and here's another thing that the point of this cannot be brought home closer, or I'm going to start one more time. The point with this article is that it validates what we have been saying for years. Everyone who has been following us or who has been critical of us now basically have to admit either way that everything that the Hollywood Reporter is saying now is what we've been saying for years. Whereas the other side, the establishment side, the traditional entertainment media, they've been saying that everything is perfect and every new Marvel movie is the best Marvel movie since the previous Marvel movie. And they've been saying that all the way right up until Ant-Man Quantumania. That's kind of like where it shifted, because that's where they, we can't ignore this kind of underperformance. But opening weekend was all, huzzah, Marvel has done it again. People are quick to forget this. But even Ant-Man and even Quantumania was celebrated as the best thing since sliced bread in its opening weekend. And that did not sustain. And that's the first time the media started shifting a little bit. But before then, every single project that we didn't like, and we were pretty clear about why and where this is going to follow, certainly Nerdrotic, who even coined the term MCU, have all been clear what's going to happen and what is going to come, and they're going to lose audiences and what happens. And now it can no longer be ignored. So now is when they come after. We have an expression in Norwegian, "Velkommen etter." Basically means welcome after. You're late to the party. You should have seen this coming.
That for sure.
And the fact that they try to have us suppress says everything you need to know.
Yeah, I think so. But I think they're also being petty about suppressing us.
Oh, absolutely. Are they being petty? Because you're right. Like, they listen to us more than the general public does. But the general public is starting to pick up on these things. We are gaining momentum. I mean, just look at how, even despite the fact that we're all being throttled to fuck, we're still able to gain some grounds here and there when we're lucky enough to. And, we love it when we see, like Gary over at Nerdrotic explode to the point where, you know, he's cruising towards 1 million subscribers and shit. That's a big deal. When Critical Drinker finally exploded, like, that's a big deal. That's getting one of us out there into the mainstream almost, and we're starting to hit the mainstream almost. Like, that's where this is scaring the shit out of them. And that goes back to Gina's post here. And I know you got to go here soon, Paul, so I'll try to read the rest of this as fast as I can. Why does everyone just laugh off the fact that when the suits do it, something is wrong? And this is what I was saying. It's, oh, how silly of those little harmless suits. Instead of the suits being forced to grovel and correct the wrong they do, just like they demand so many others too. It's not like they don't know how to apologize. They wrote the playbook on fake apologies. They've literally destroyed careers and livelihoods and get sympathy pieces written on them, while those whose lives get destroyed for just having an opinion that was before its time or made a mistake and hurt feelings get destroyed. The action of bot armies is actually a bigger offense than people are realizing. How many lives were ruined because of Twitter bots canceling them. In defamation lawsuits, you need to have evidence of intent to do harm. Defamation lawsuits are very tricky, especially when you're going up against someone with endless amounts of cash. I would say sending in a bot army to go after people they don't agree with more than qualifies as intent to harm, and I believe a jury would agree. Could get very interesting if ex or current employees came forward with more evidence. Aren't you all sick of abuse of power? You could sell your soul and still end up with the 1%, end up in the 1%. This benefits, and who wants to be in the 1% anyway, when it means betraying humanity and selling your soul? Don't pass the social credit score BS onto the next generation. Artists throughout history are at their best when they're not in lockstep with what it's what we love about them. Independent creators get busy and don't be compromised once you climb to the top. Artists at the top, take your leashes off. So yeah, I agree with everything she's saying here, and I'm more than sure that there's bot armies out there that are made to try and stifle us and other, you know, critics of Disney and other studios. So yeah, Paul, your thoughts on that?
I just want to point out that she made her living beating the shit out of someone else, and now she's talking about creative people. I just want to point that out.
Well, you know,
I think everyone can change. That's the lesson we have.
Yeah, but can they change quickly enough? Can they change when there's still time for it?
I'd like to have her go into a ring with some of these executives.
I'd pay to see her in the ring with any executive. She would kick their ass.
Oh my God.
Yeah. All at once, she'd take on the whole board.
I would say that is the case. Steel cage match. No one comes out until the last person is standing.
Yep.
Anyways, yeah.
Studio deathmatch.
Deathmatch. Hollywood deathmatch featuring Gina Carano.
So yeah, I don't think it's any surprise to any of us that there's bot farms and all this business. I mean, shit. Just look at the Snyder scenario, for instance.
Oh yeah.
But anyway, unless I'm missing it, 6, I don't see any specific super chats for Paul because I know he's got to get leaving here.
I saw some notes about anime.
Yeah, there was some about anime though. I didn't see that, but I'm not.
Pluto. Man, Pluto is good. So I've now realized that it's basically an updated version of Astro Boy. It dawned on me as I was watching it. Wait a second.
Yeah, we had the super chat pointing that out.
Yeah, and I realized it myself. It's really good.
Yeah. We have another, Comebot Killer says for $2. Paul, HW is worse fair weather fan. Executives are losers.
HW. I don't know who HW is.
It doesn't ring any bells for me at the moment.
Hollywood.
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for women-splaining, 6. We needed that.
No, I agree.
We totally did. We accept it.
People don't really understand how insular and small Hollywood is. It makes Green Acres look like New York City.
Yeah. And here we have another question that you also would be here to answer. Bucky Cat wonders for $10. Thank you, Bucky. Have you seen the trailer for Shogun on Hulu FX, which is to release in 2024? Hiroyuki Sanada plays Lord Toranga. thoughts on how good this might end up being, and
Just saw it
any
land. I
thoughts
have
on the
not seen it.
original Shogun?
I have not seen it. It just landed not too long ago.
Yeah, I have not had time to. I remember my parents being like really excited for the original Shogun. They loved it. I never actually saw it.
I was
but,
out
I'll
buying new
be-
golf clubs,
Yeah.
so I had other things to do.
Well, there you go. But yeah, I look forward to checking the trailer for this out and also the series. But I have no thoughts just yet. But I'm sure we will be getting to it. And then let's see if there's some other things here that looks sufficiently anime that there might be something. Jason Webster says for $5 Australian, the best K-drama moving is a far better superhero series and both seasons of Loki in every conceivable way. Yeah, well, that's not exactly a very high bar there, but yeah. Are you familiar with movie?
No, I don't. I'm just searching for it.
Okay.
Moving.
And
South Korean television series by Disney. Okay. It's available on Disney.
And David Lopez says for $4.99, have you all seen the latest trailer for Hayao Miyazaki's The Boy and the Heron? The English dub sounds amazing.
I have not.
Sorry.
I am a big Miyazaki fan.
This is all Latin to me.
And we got one specifically for Paul here asking, Camelbot Killer asks, Paul, are you watching Shield Hero Season 3?
No, I didn't get into it at the beginning, and it's hard for me to, I got so much stuff to get through. So, and anytime I see, there's 3 seasons already, I tend to shy away from it.
Well, here's another one. Kareen says for $4.99. Thank you, Kareen. Bodies on Netflix is a very good time travel detective show. I have heard of this. It's one of the things that I want to check out. I just haven't had time to do so yet.
Yeah, it's first time hearing of it.
Maybe after I finish House of Usher eventually. I'm like now 3 episodes in.
Wow, so this moving thing is on Disney. The quiet lives of 3 high school students with genetic superhuman abilities turn upside down when a mysterious organization starts to hunt them down one by one. So, looks good. I do love the simplicity of the stories of the K-dramas. I think that's one of their charms. They don't get overcomplicated, and they have family. This is to see these shows where there's people actually enjoying each other's company and having families that are potentially losable through violence and stuff like that. Disney just doesn't like families.
No,
it's a very
simple
way. Yeah, it's a very simple technique. I mean, it's a kind of a cheat, but I mean, it's something that all humans are attracted to, the concept of family, both good and bad.
Yeah.
As far as Disney's concerned, there's probably more money in trafficking than there is trafficking in family. Oh, did I say that? I'm sorry. I thought my mic was muted. Camelbot also says, Paul, so what is your favorite anime to watch? What's your favorite?
Well, right now I'm watching Pluto. This is something I hadn't heard of before, and it recently came to Netflix, but it's an old one, and I'm really, really enjoying it. I think it's fantastic. Of course, Demon Slayer is good. It's great. I'm enjoying Demon Slayer, except for all the crying in between the fight scenes that I don't understand. But the fight scenes are really, really well done. What else am I watching? The Spy X Family one. That's brilliantly done. So I can only watch so much before my brain explodes.
Yeah. And with that, I do believe we have run through most of your super chats. But Martin said he loves his Midnight's Edge family, and yeah, we love you all, you guys, and we also love having Paul here. So thanks for joining us this Friday as well.
It's nice to have been joined. I've always enjoyed myself, and it's you always give me the impetus to publish something in the morning just before your show. It gives
We
me.
don't need to hear about you enjoying yourself, Paul.
No, that's pleasuring myself.
Well, either way.
So hopefully I can hit the golf course today with the new clubs. That'll be good.
Well, good luck with that. And
Yep.
thank you for being here, and take care of yourself. Check out Paul's channel. You got new videos coming up.
Well, I got
TV guide.
Yeah, TV guide. I'm going to be working on that finally. And the next one, 86. And for the most part, though, I'm coming up with so many new ideas, and some of them from you guys. So I'm executing. I've got way too many ideas. So I just did a phone call.
Trust me, I know how that is.
I did a phone call with Kathleen Kenny, and that was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that, and I think the punchline is quite clever and funny. So enjoy that. It's only at 4 out of 10 if you know YouTube parlance. I think it should be higher. So anyone out there who has not seen it, please go to Call Me Chato and watch it. It's only 4 minutes of your time.
Yeah, check it out. I look forward to seeing that myself.
I look forward to hearing what you think of it, Andre.
Excellent.
So, drop me a note. Talk to you later, everyone. Have a good weekend. It's Friday. Yeah. Oh boy. Yeah. Friday. Bye, everyone.
Take care.
All right. Now, if Tennille's still hanging out in the chat, I do have a response from Jonas on his super chat. The question was, Jonas, Critical Drinker suggested the variety piece was to take some heat off of KK at her behest. Any merit, or is that probably just bunk? And Jonas answered back, Drinker could be right. He probably knows better than I do, but my guess would be it's somebody closer to Marvel themselves. Yeah. And again, I the only reason I don't think it had anything to do with KK is I think this article / cover story was in motion way before anybody was even aware what they were doing over at South Park. Because I was even surprised when they first mentioned KK herself, but at the same time, like, I don't know if they even realized what was going to happen. So, well, we'll see if they do a second part. That'll be interesting, especially if it has to do with Marvel. But moving back into the super chats, we got Professor Haitian, who says, we are seeing the craziest people on Twix this morning after Mark Miller said Eric July's Isom is a good book. Jealousy in full effect. Oh.
Well, I'm not surprised, because comic book creators and their followers are a very, very fickle bunch and a very totalitarian bunch. You cannot like anyone that goes against the narrative. You cannot be seen as supportive of anything like that. It has to be a very clear distinction, us or them, black and white. I mean, the herd mentality and how they will instantly jump on you the moment you step out of line. I mean, what a horrible field to be in. That's the crime that Mark Miller did. He's basically in the good crowd, and then he said something positive about Eric July's book, but Eric July is seen as a communicator. You say something positive about him, and he even employs other communicators. Ooh, like the only way you're supposed to put his word in your mouth if you're in the good crowd is to say how much you hate him and everything he stands for. But Mark Millar actually praised him, so obviously they're going to come after him, because now they're going to halfway see him as a communicator as well. And it would be pretty cool if he took this opportunity to actually join the ranks of them and start doing some things completely unleashed. So yeah, not surprised at all. Not surprised at all.
All right, keep moving on. Dr. Long Dongler sending in a thumbs up. Hit that thumbs up if you haven't already. We appreciate that here at the channel. Lee Donahue, if I'm saying that correctly, sent in a £5 super sticker. Let's see if Six managed to grab in the back what that was. I'm sure she did way back up here if I scroll. It is a hippo character running at high speed with his legs forming a ball-like blur. Awesome. Thank you so much, Lee Donahue. Or Donahue, sorry. Shotgun Fringe says, it's my birthday tomorrow, gentlemen. I'm turning 44. Tom, could I please get a soothing happy birthday in the style of William Shatner? Well, normally we have Bat Tom come out, but since you made this request, Shotgun Fringe, I don't see how we can't do that for you. Happy birthday, Shotgun Fringe. Happy birthday to you. May you soar to the sky. You're quite a guy. Happy birthday, Shotgun Fringe. Happy birthday. To you. Priceline.com.
Yeah, that was beautiful. And happy birthday, Shotgun
Yes,
Fringe.
happy 44th.
As well. Yeah. Nice,
Indeed.
nice even number there.
Then we've got the Seaman here who says, any rumors or reviews for Napoleon yet? Seems like there's little to no promotion, which is worrisome. It's just not a movie that's been on my personal radar, so I can't speak to it too much. Andre?
I have heard nothing. And on the good side of that is I haven't heard anything bad. Because when a movie is coming out, I am more likely to hear about it if there's something bad about it than if there is something good about it. And me having heard nothing so far suggests to me that this has a chance to be fairly decent. That there's little to no promotion, I wouldn't worry too much about just yet. This is an Apple release. So although it is getting a theatrical release, really that's just Oscar bait and promotion for the Apple release, which is what they're really after with this. So I wouldn't worry too much with that. This does not have the promotional budget, and I'm saying now not the movie budget, but the promotional advertisement budget that a blockbuster usually would have. This does not have. So I wouldn't worry about it just yet.
Well, we'll have to see how it goes. Joaquin Phoenix is one of those that it all depends on the movie he's in, whether or not I like him. And Ridley Scott is one of those I tend to just wait for the final cut. So we'll see. I wish he's not by chance taking what Kubrick was going to do for Napoleon. Is he doing that, or he's just doing his own thing? I'm assuming.
I have no idea. I would imagine.
I'd be interested to see somebody try to take on what Kubrick was going to do, but I don't know. I'll have to wait and see. I'll probably check it out eventually. It's not something I'm going to be in a hurry to go see. Like this weekend, they actually have Scorsese's new movie down here at my little podunk theater. So I might slip away and go check that out for 4 hours.
The Killers of Flower Moon?
Yeah, which is actually managing to make a little bit of money. I mean, it hasn't made, in quotations, money yet, but it's doing better than I think people anticipated because it's already crossed 100 million. Yeah. So be interesting to see. I thinking about going to see it. I don't know. Maybe I'll just wait because I haven't heard on a streaming date yet, but I would assume like with Air, I mean, that was Amazon, but they showed it in theaters for like 2-3 weeks and then they dumped it right on Amazon right away. So kind of waiting. I don't really want to go to the theater for 4 hours. Because I also heard there's no intermission in the theaters that have been.
They were scolded for it.
That's what I heard. That's what I heard. So I'm like, what the fuck?
And it's a very long movie. It's longer. It feels longer than it is.
They should have just added a built-in intermission. Why can't they do that anymore?
Because
I mean, I know there's been a few before, but I
have no other.
There was a few before Lord of the Rings, but I think Lord of the Rings and Titanic were the two movies that really pushed the idea of a intermission out the window, from my memory. But anyway, how do they think we can handle this shit is beyond me. But as far as Napoleon goes, I'm sure they're not worried about it. They're more worried about getting some golden statues for it. Like Andre was saying. Coffee Lover 239 has been here for 10 months. Thank you for that. Jason Webster says Godzilla against Mechagodzilla 2002 and Shin Godzilla 2016 are my favorite films of the long-running Toho series. Godzilla King of the Monsters 2019, my favorite of the Legendary films. Well, that's some pretty good choices there.
Yeah, I should say so.
Yeah. I mean, I know Andre and I are both fans of Shin Godzilla, but I know he's probably more of a fan of the 98 film than he is of the regular Godzilla films, other than
I actually am, yes.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say that I'm a fan of that.
But you would prefer to watch that. Yeah, I get you.
I have more fun watching that than any of the others. And like the original Toho films, with the exception of Godzilla versus Kong, because it's so over the top funny. I mean, I can't sit through them. I can sit through the original, but between that, I can't watch the original Heisei era films, or whatever they're called. I just can't.
I mean, those might be one of those things you almost have to have grown up with them or something.
Exactly. I think that's necessary, because I didn't grow up with them. And then seeing them as an adult, like, I've given it a try, and I just can't.
See, now how you kind of feel about those is kind of how I feel about anime, if that makes sense. Like, there's some things I can get into, but for the most part, I get why others like it. It's just not my bag. And I think it's because I was raised on Western animation mostly. So,
yeah.
But anyway, moving on. Thank you for that, Jason Webster. It is Godzilla birthday today, or whatever, the Godzilla Day today.
Yeah, we did. We were made aware of this in the beginning of the stream. Yeah.
Yeah. Nightwish fan says, "Do we really believe HBO is the only company making?" Oh wait, I think we grabbed this one already. Making bot accounts to attack critics on Twitter. Cough. Lucasfilm. Cough. Yeah, and that or one similar to this got us into that topic. And no, I think it's pretty obvious that we all know that they buy critics. Well, first of all, we know it's only $50 to get a positive review on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah,
I love how all this shit is coming out.
Yeah,
you know, isn't this like the vindication we're having lately has been so funny? It's just like,
I fucking knew it.
Pretty much, yeah.
Oh.
And thanks for the $10, Nightwish fan. Much appreciated.
But yeah, it's a lot of fun. And hopefully this Christmas is the gift of giving all this. I hope we get a bunch of fun stuff to get us through the holidays. It'd be amazing. To have an email dump would be great. To have more problems leak out from behind the scenes would be fun. But Stone Racket sent us in a pair of super stickers, a pair of purple cats. So he wants us to have a pair of purple cats. Thank you for that, Stone Racket.
The sponsor of today, who also sent us $50.
Very generous.
Earlier. So yes, thank you.
Jason Webster then says Disney Wars VII. That'd be 5, 6, 7, right? Obi-Wan, Peltz, and the Phantom Menace Rebellion have begun to turn the. Okay, I should do this in the trailer voice. Obi-Wan, Pence, and the Phantom Menace Rebellion have begun to turn the tide against Darth Iger and Darth Insufferable, aka Kathleen Kennedy, and the evil Disney Empire. Tune in next time to find out what happens on the next Disney Wars.
I agree. I mean, the support there is pretty astonishing, and thank you for the $10.
Yeah. Angela Richter is here and says Kamala Khan is Sana Amanat self-insert. That's why no one liked her. Well, I think what they benefited from is they found an actress who happened to be likable that fit the role. Because I'll admit, I've not watched the show, but what I've seen of everything so far, I can see why people find her likable. Right. And that goes a long way. And that's what I was saying earlier about the Kate Bishop character in being played by Haley, what was it, Steinsfeld or whatever her name is? Like, she's a likable actress. So if you'd have put anybody else in that role, I don't know if I'd have liked Hawkeye or not, but it does go a long way. It does help, but that's about all they got going for them when it comes to the Marvels. Because I'm sure you heard, Andre, they downsized the estimates again.
Yeah, I heard. I'm not surprised. And they're going to have to do it again, because now it's just negative press. There's literally no excitement. And now you even have the entertainment media complex giving up on it and writing the movie off. There is no point in trying to prop it up in any kind of way. The narrative is now against Marvel. There's no point whatsoever in trying to prop anything up.
Yeah, and thank you for the $10, Angela. That's very generous. Chaos Sonic says there's saying the Joker said that fits everyone turning on Marvel and Disney. You get what you fucking deserve. Yeah, well,
Indeed. But it is deserved. They do deserve it
they brought it on
they
themselves.
they have done the complete opposite of what they started and how their success was built. And that is coming in a very near video that I'm still working on, exactly what they did before and how that differs from what they're doing now.
Yeah. And I know Hawkeye wasn't about Hawkeye because I see people saying that in the chat. But you know what it did work with? And it kind of helps maybe having the character named Clint, is it had a very unforgiving kind of, he had a very unforgiving kind of turn in that show, but at least he got to be a hero by the end. See, that's what I didn't hate, but I hated the last episode in comparison to the rest of the show. She just didn't seem like a Mary Sue either. That also helped. But anyway, the Elusive sends in 5 and says, guys, I must ask, the media admitting Marvel is pulling a Hindenburg the same time Feige's Puff Piece MCU book drops is just a coincidence, right? Well, look, I don't think there's so much anything as coincidences in Hollywood. The only coincidence I would say recently is I don't think they planned on the South Park episode. That was literally throwing gasoline on an already burning fire. Does that make sense?
It does, absolutely.
Yeah. But in the end of the day, I think they can't, like, who was that writer who was talking about fate and all that stuff? You can't get away from it and all that business. But yeah, anyway.
Well, I have to be a little bit more specific. I mean,
I'm trying to
20 lines
remember.
of talking about fate.
I know I'm trying to remember the specific one I'm thinking of, but doesn't matter. It still holds true. You can't get away from your fate. It's inevitable. And they created their own fate in this sense. So Valentine Tube says, I sent you a DM on X, Andre, about Graham H. I mean no harm. I just think I can offer something good. Do I have to be famous or rich to just to talk?
Yeah, no, you don't have to be famous or rich, but you do have to understand that I'm getting 20, 30 different kinds of DMs a day, plus minimum 100 emails in them, which I have to sort out which are legit and which are commercials and everything like that.
And plus he's got 2 different accounts between Midnight's Edge and the regular one too.
Plus, I also have to produce the shows and oversee video production and everything. And that means there's going to be some waiting time before I get back to every single request. So I'm sorry you had to wait a couple of days before I got back to you, but I have gotten back to you now. So yeah.
And unfortunately, I have the similar problem.
Yeah.
But I do my best.
So no, you don't have to be rich to talk to us, but just given the sheer volume of traffic that's coming in, of course, no one else sees. You just have to be patient, and we'll get back to you eventually.
And a good way to talk to us as well is also the member chats, which we do need to do soon.
Member streams, you mean?
Yeah, or member streams. I mean, that's what I meant. And when are we hoping to plan the next one, Andre? Hint, hint, hint.
Let's see what we can do over the course of next week. I haven't locked in a date yet, but let's see what we can do inside of the next 10 days or so.
All right. So we'll shoot for like probably Tuesday or Thursday of next week. How's that sound?
Yeah,
Callum
Tom, that
Lyle.
reminds me, you have the audio for the next installment of the behind-the-scenes story of Midnight's Edge.
I thought I sent you the video.
No, you didn't.
Oh, for Pete's sake. I don't even know what I got anymore. Callum Lyle says, I think Planet of the Apes 4 will make money. We did talk a little bit about the trailer yesterday on Mr. H's stream. Andre wasn't a fan of the reboots.
I was not, no.
So he wasn't too enthralled with the trailer. I did like the reboots, but I'm also tired of the same old thing. So I was like, yeah, this trailer isn't showing me anything we haven't seen already. I almost get to the point where I'd rather just see him remake the original film. And I think the other thing we kind of came to the conclusion of is we also have seen the CGI thing played to death. Like maybe go back to some practical effects would be kind of more interesting. But no, they're clearly continuing the newer-ish Fox series. And yeah, okay.
Yeah, and good to see you again, Callum.
And I'm not so sure. Not so sure it's going to make money, but we'll have to wait and see. Because I'm trying to remember what the last one did. I think it did about 300 million altogether, something about that, something around that. Then we got a Rumble rant here from Daramuth. Sent in 5 on the Rumble side and says, has anyone on the panel seen Five Nights at Freddy's yet? Seems to be breaking people's expectations in the box office. Yeah, considering it's on Peacock and in theaters at the same time, it's doing quite well.
I hope to be able to see it over the course of the weekend. I haven't seen it yet, but I hope to be able to see it soon. It looks pretty cool. So, yeah, ask me again next week.
Yeah, I haven't seen it yet, and I probably won't. 6 has, I think, if she wants to pop in and give her feelings on it.
I'm sorry, what?
Five Nights at Freddy's, what'd you think?
Five Nights at Freddy's. I liked it. I knew absolutely nothing about it before seeing the movie, so I couldn't tell you if you like the video game that you'll like the movie, but I liked the movie. It was, I think it would be good for maybe older kids, teenagers, but I'm pretty conservative when it comes to what I would show a child.
But did it have a woman in it, and was she gay?
No. No, there's a really adorable relationship between a brother and a sister, and I really cared about the characters and their backstory.
Cool.
It was good. I recommend it.
The only thing I would maybe watch it for is that Jim Henson Company did the effects, I guess.
Nah, I wouldn't.
So they're not that
That's
great.
that's not the first thing that comes. I'm always about this.
Fair enough.
Not so much.
No, but that's fair enough. But I mean, that would be the only interest I would have in it, is basically what I was saying.
If you already have the Peacock or whatever it's on, I would recommend just check it out.
All right. Well, thanks for your opinion on that, 6. Shanatsky has been here for 16 months. Thank you for that, Shanatsky. Appreciate that. Pinochet's helicopter tourist says Variety article is veiled anti-capitalism stunt.
I have to read it in much more detail. I don't see anything about that. I mean, quite the contrary. The issue here is that these movies aren't making money anymore. That's why they're writing this. There would be no point in making this article if they were making money. But like capitalist projects are supposed to do, make money, these just ain't doing it. So I don't see quite how you got that out of the article.
When you've only had 3 movies in the last 3 years make any sort of money, I think that's why you get articles like this.
Yeah.
Because literally we're at a point now where the only Marvel movies, and that has been 3 years now, since 2020, that have made any money. And one of them, they didn't even get that much money out of because of Spider-Man. So they had to share it with Sony. It had been Doctor Strange and Guardians of the Galaxy 3. That's it. Nothing else has arguably made any profit whatsoever. They could try and pretend Shang-Chi and some of those did, but they sure as fuck didn't.
And even those probably were more lucky to break even rather than anything else.
I mean, that's what I'm arguing, is I don't even believe half of them did. That's my point, because especially when we're coming to learn more and more often, as Valiant and others are doing great reporting on this and digging up the actual budgets for these movies, we're finding out they're 2-3 times what they're reporting. And if that's the case, there's no way any of these movies made any money. In fact, they cost them money. Even though Disney supposedly is at the top of the ranks right now as far as box office revenue, I would still say they're also one of the biggest losers when you sit down and figure out how much money they've lost at the box office this year alone, just between like Indiana Jones, Ant-Man. They're going to lose on the Marvels. I mean, that takes any profit you could have possibly made and tosses it right out the window.
Yep. Indeed.
When Warner Brothers can... Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. And CC Karaoke says, for 10 Canadian dollars, I love many classic live-action Disney films, but the family-friendly, campy fun of Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, or The Mighty Ducks is so far from Netflix Daredevil. I doubt Disney ever had the chops. Well, here's the thing, though. Disney today is not the company that made Honey, I Shrunk the Kids or The Mighty Ducks. And it's not the company that made Daredevil either. Disney today is the company that gave you Strange Worlds and the live action The Little Mermaid. That's the company. That's the people that they can produce here. So just have to be careful with comparing what the company is today.
And did you watch the trailer yet for Echo, CC? Because we learned early on, I don't know if you hadn't come in yet to the show, This is going to be their first TVMA show. And I'm starting to think the two main reasons why they're dropping this program is because it has something to do with what they do with Kingpin to set up for Daredevil. And I think they're testing the waters on a TVMA show for Daredevil. Because
Probably.
this is one of the most violent things I've ever seen come out of Disney ever. Like the trailer itself has dude fucking dying with blood coming out of his mouth and shit. Like I've never seen shit like that. Like this is even worse than Hawkeye as far as the violence. So maybe that's what they're doing. And I get where you're coming from because CC brought this point up last night. We'll have to wait and see how they treat this. But I agree, they should almost do a separate entity for some of the more darker Marvel properties. And I think you'd probably agree with that.
Yeah.
Pinochet says, all that matters is he admitted it. We can now assume from the start the hype is generated by trolls. From now and forever, Occam's razor requires it. Well, yeah. Well, most of these cases, you can almost 9 times out of 10 expect it. Unless I heard it from one of my sources, I generally don't believe any of the hype when it comes out of any of these test screenings.
Actually, it's
or any
very,
of that
very
shit.
easy. Hype is audience generated. If it's not coming from the audience, it's spin. If you have to read about how amazing it is, then that's spin coming from the studio. If you hear your friends talking about, hey, wow, have you heard about this thing? Then it's hype. That's the difference between the two. Studio can manufacture one of them.
Yeah. Like, I'm more apt to believe what Chris Gore will say about a movie before any review I read, especially from like Collider or any of those kind of guys, or Variety or Hollywood Reporter or anything like that. And same thing goes like if one of my sources that I talk to on a regular basis happens to see a test screening, for instance. I'll believe that before I'll believe any of the other reviews that come out. So, yeah. Then Chinatsky says, if you have no power, then why are they after you?
Evidently, we do.
It's not so much that we have power, we have, and I wouldn't even say influence.
We have a voice. We have
a
something
voice.
worse than power. We have a voice. And as we said earlier, we have the kind of voice where not everyone listens to us, but inside every group of friends that's going to the theaters, that one guy who knows stuff, he's the one listening to us. He's the one that's going to be informing others. Not necessarily name dropping us or neurotic or anyone, just spreading the gist of what is going on, spreading that awareness. And that's
basically a good way of looking at it is there's 1,000 of you watching right now. Now, if even half of you, 500 of you, go and tell a friend about all this stuff, like Andre just said, and then they could tell a few friends, and they tell a few friends. It doesn't take long before that stuff gets out there.
Exactly.
So, and that's how this stuff just spreads. Not to mention, the people that watch our shows afterwards, or the number of the people that watch, Friday Night Tights and all that kind of stuff. I mean, it's a growing thing, and they're noticing. We know we've been on their maps for a while, but now we're starting to really get under their skin because they can't shut us up. That's the problem. They are doing everything, and that's what Gina is trying to put out there and let them know is they have tried to do everything they can to shut us up, to shut us down, to get us pushed off, to get us throttled, to do everything they can to try and get you to only hear what they want you to hear. So the fact that you're listening right now means that you've gotten through the mucky muck. You're one of the lucky ones. So there you go. Pinochet's helicopter tour says VR on Fox is why Variety is telling the truth. That helped too. That helps too, is when we make and break through the mainstream media. I mean, Andre and I, we've had those few lucky occasions where we do a video or something or an interview that gets picked up by other sources, and it's exhilarating because you're like, yes, finally the word's getting out there. Like when I did that Nicholas Myers interview, that was crazy, for instance.
We got 30,000 citations, I counted, all over the world.
Yeah, and they did not. I think that's where I know we got on CBS's radar big time. I thought we already were before that, but I know
we were
after that. And I'm sure that caused a stir. But anyway, Matthias Fredrickson says, love Tom rants for how on point they tend to be. Well, I try to be. I can rant with the best of them. Jesus Davila gifted 5 Midnight's Edge memberships. So hopefully you're one of those 5 people who got a membership from Jesus Davila. Pilgrim Media says, Disney Marvel reminds me of koalas in the ring. They got 0 fucks to give. Well, I think they got to start worrying about shit. And I think that's kind of what's going on, is a panic. Camelbot Killer says, will Iger board be removed by court's proxy war?
Well, they're not going to remove by courts, but they could be
No.
removed by proxy war.
That's where things are going to start getting sticky here, because that's the thing you always got to keep in mind, is that Bob Iger owns the board, basically. So
Yeah.
that's going to be tough. Seth has been a member for 7 months. And then one more super chat. Brightest Day Audiobooks doesn't say anything, just sends in $1 to support us. Thank you so much, Brightest Day, for supporting us. And that is it, Andre. We're caught up.
Did we get the Seth's membership?
Yep, I said that just before Brightest Days. Yep.
All right. Yeah, just checking here. Well, fantastic. With that, thanks to everyone who's still here. We're so glad that you decided to make us part of your day. Thanks to Mr. Chato and to Cultured Casino for joining us earlier. Do check out both of their channels. Tomorrow, we have a huge Marvel video dropping. It is the one where we go through a little bit of what is happening right now, but mostly it is on the book that Jonas described as Kevin Feige's book, because that's kind of how it reads. Basically, MCU, the Reign of Marvel Studios. And that book is a piece of propaganda. And I will break down in detail how it is a piece of propaganda. And I will also break down the real reasons for the rise of Marvel and the fall of Marvel. And that is something that this book is definitely trying to obscure. So you do not want to miss out on that. So do us a favor. We're going to premiere it. When you hear it, please try to be here for it and help share it and all of those things, because that's not just so that you get notifications. It is so that others get notifications too, because that's the game that YouTube plays right now. If you have done everything right to get a notification, but if someone else doesn't click fast enough, you might not get it anyway. That's how it is. So when you get it, please be here for the premiere. And if you should get a notification, and please click on that link as fast as you can.
Well, we got one more super chat
from Camelbot Killer, who said, if courts say the guilty of SEC can go to jail. Yeah,
no, I'm trying to remember. Are they still being investigated for other things? Because that one whistleblower already settled or whatever. I know that. So I don't know what they're being. You'd have to be more specific, Camelbot. I mean, I know they're always constantly under some kind of scrutiny, but because the other stuff that I know of that's going on right now is just lawsuits. But again, I'm not up to speed on this as much as some of the other pundits are on YouTube. So I definitely would. This would be something more up VR or somebody like that. WDW Pro may know more about it. But otherwise, from just a cursory look right now, I didn't find anything other than the whistleblower and the SEC, and that's already seemingly been taken care of or has gone away.
I would not hold out much hope for that particular story. Yeah, that is one that could lead to jail time, but that's a big.
You're talking probably low level people will go take the blame for that anyway. We do have one piece of good news before we get out of here. If you'll remember, they were having a hard time finding a streamer for Sound of Freedom. Well, they found a big streamer. Amazon is picking it up. It'll be streaming on Amazon December 26th, guys. So there you go. If you're curious how to see Sound of Freedom and not have to rent it or buy it on disc, which I do recommend buying a disc, but there you go. Sound of Freedom will be streaming on Amazon Prime in December. I believe it's December 26th, so the day after Christmas. There you go.
Yeah.
Good news for those guys. That's a big deal. That's a pretty big deal. Then Kalekioki says, any words on KK contract renewal? Nothing new. But I wouldn't counter out yet.
I also would not counter it, because now she can argue, if you don't renew me right now, it's going to look like you cave into South Park pressure.
Could be.
So I would not counter out just yet.
Yeah, like at this point, she's still going to go when she wants to go, unless she makes some major mistake. And then we're talking major mistake. Willie the Monkey King is here, and he says, quick plug for Paulie's book. That's right. Paulie launched his book this last week. Check out the campaign for it if you haven't already. I'm sure one of the wonderful mods in the chat. We'll throw the link out there. And speaking of, thank you, Six, for all your help today producing the show and modding along with Mr. Tickle Trunk, Natasha, and D-Bud. Today, we appreciate all the help you guys give us. Thank you for that.
Absolutely. So thank you, mods, for doing such a great job. And with that, I believe we are fully caught up. So be sure to come back tomorrow for a big video drop. And with that, it is time for some koalas in the rain.
Koalas in the rain, koalas in the rain, no fucks given, koalas in the rain.